Hey, thanks for checking out our 34th episode of the Unlockable podcast. It's already late January, so I won't say Happy New Year, but welcome to the first episode of 2023. Hannah and I have a fun episode today where we'll be diving into the history of Nintendo's non-video game things, the things they used to sell or currently sell that aren't in the video game realm directly. We all know they started with hanafuda cards a very long time ago, but to my surprise, they tried their hands at a crazy amount of other things before moving to video games. Do yourself a favor and join the Discord to come talk to us. Be sure to leave a positive rating or a thumbs up wherever you're listening to this, and enjoy. Welcome back to the Unlockable podcast. I'm Christian, and joining me as always is the Game Girl Advance SP herself.
Howdy.
Hannah, how was your Christmas and your New Year? It's been like 4 weeks. Tell me about your holidays.
Wow, I forgot it's been that long. Yeah, the holiday was good. Me and my family traveled up to Colorado for Christmas, which we did a couple years ago, but it was so much freaking fun, dude. It snowed. Like, we didn't have a white Christmas, but we were up there when it was snowing, and it was just the coolest snow you could possibly imagine. It was like chunks of snow, and it stuck, and you could make snowballs, and have a snowball fight, and make a snowman. It was, like, magical. Absolutely magical. It's the most magical Christmas I've ever had. But yeah, that was a lot of fun, and we had a really good time. And we also went to this thing. It's like a giant freaking antique mall. I sent you pictures. You remember those pictures I sent you of all the games and stuff?
Yeah.
We went to a giant antique mall. I didn't buy anything, but I certainly saw a lot of stuff. But yeah, it was good. It was a good time. What about you?
So why wasn't it a white Christmas? What makes a Christmas white?
Because it wasn't on Christmas. It was after Christmas.
Oh, it was just a white time to be alive. It wasn't necessarily Christmas.
Yeah. Christmas had happened, and then it snowed after Christmas.
Very cool. I stayed in the Houston area, hung out with family, hung out with friends, got some video games for Christmas, as one does. Actually, I didn't even write that down in my been buying section. That's a slacker move right there.
Yeah, in January, we need a been gifted section.
Yeah, nothing crazy for me. I got a raise at work, though. Life is going well. Work is going well.
Nice.
Yeah, my roommates are getting a brand new puppy, like, in a couple of days, and I'm very excited about that.
Oh, boy. What responsibility.
We already have one pit bull in the house, and now this pit bull is going to have a little sibling. A little boy pitty is going to be in the house, and I'm freaking pumped.
Oh.
Nobody cares about my life. Let's talk about what we've been playing, Hannah. Talk to me about the game that you got for Christmas that you beat recently. I want to hear all about it. I've been waiting for this moment.
Yes, sir. So you bought me Ys 7, which is a PSP game, so I had to dust off my freaking PSP, try to turn it on, realize the battery doesn't work. So then I had to buy a new battery, which is fine. All good stuff. But yeah, I was playing Ys 7. I think I must have put, I want to say 40 hours, but I think it was a little less. It was probably like 36 hours or whatever. I freaking loved it. Dude, these games are just so charming. I'm so addicted to them. They're so good.
Heck yeah.
I think this is one of the longer ones. Apologies, I'm just getting over a cold, so hopefully I'm not too phlegmy. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Everything I've ever said bad about the PSP, I apologize. It's a great little system. I'm sorry if I ever offended any PSP fans out there. It is great. The only criticism I have for the console itself, though, is it's really small and my hands kept cramping, but that much just might be a personal problem. But anyway, Ys 7 is really good. The story doesn't really pick up until like halfway through. It was kind of like not a boring story, but just kind of like a run-of-the-mill, like, oh, you have to save the town because it's in danger, blah, 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 blah. But then, like, halfway through, it kind of picks up and there's like plot twists and stuff. It is so freaking good. I loved it. Except, the only thing I didn't like, and this is just a criticism of RPGs in general, and could just be because there wasn't enough space, there's like a limit on how many items you can have, so like your healing potions and like your powers and stuff like that. And so when I got to the final boss, I must have been like really underpowered. so it kicked my ass in like 3 minutes. I was like, there's no freaking way. So I had to go back and grind. That's probably why my hours are so long on this game. I had to go back and grind for like 5 or 6 hours because you can like upgrade your armor and stuff towards the end.
Dang.
So I had to go back and just freaking over and over and over and over and over again kill the same enemies. But I eventually beat the boss, so it was really exciting. But I loved it. Definitely up there on one of my favorites, I think.
Good. That makes me happy.
It was so much fun, dude.
I can't remember the last time I played my PSP. It's been years.
So, yeah, the PSP is great. Obviously, you can't get, like, any... Mine was, like, a special case, I guess, because the battery died, so I had to, like, kept resetting it to, like, the proper date. Which, I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter, but... that was odd. And then, like, it's magic. You could literally save your game, turn it off, and then put it down, and then pick your game up, like, 3 days later, turn it back on, and you're right back where you were. You don't have to, like, restart the game or, like, do anything else like that. It's right there. So nice.
That doesn't sound right. It's like closing your DS.
Yeah.
I think, Hannah, and I don't know if you're just an amateur, or maybe I'm wrong here, but I think that there's like 2 ways to turn the power switch on the PSP. One of them is like the sleep mode, and one of them is like actually turning the console off.
Okay, well, fine, I put it in sleep mode, but still, you can put it in sleep mode and then pick it up, and you're still good.
Well, there you go. There you have it.
It's great.
Hannah's now a Sony fan and stan.
I am. I like it very much.
Very cool. Makes me want to buy some PSP games, honestly, just talking about it.
You totally
But
should.
They're
great.
That's probably because I have an illness where I just can't stop buying video games.
Yeah, it's a sickness. We all got it.
You play anything else?
Nope, that is it. It took up my whole time. I could not play anything but it.
I just finished Golf Story a couple of days ago on the Switch. Did not realize that game came out all the way back in 2017. Must have been an early release for the console.
Did you play a physical version?
No, I'm not even sure if that exists.
It does. Limited run.
Oh, okay. I got a good deal on it on the eShop like 2 years ago. Started it, just kept putting it down, and I guest appeared, I guess you could say, on my friend's podcast, and we talked about games we're excited for 2023, and I realized that I'm not planning to buy a single game until Breath of the Wild, which is all the way in May. So I think for the next 5 months, I guess 4 now. Well, it's probably closer to 3. For the next 3 months and like all of January, I just kind of want to focus on these games that I've started and put down. And Golf Story was one of those. So I am glad to have crossed that one off the list. I started playing some Hollow Knight last night, another game that started and put down. So yeah, hopefully I can get back to the grind on that one as well. Got some more games like that I would like to cross off.
Hollow Knight is very difficult, isn't it? It's like a really difficult platformer.
It's kind of like a difficult platformer / Metroidvania. Yeah, it's challenging for sure. It's a good time.
Nice.
Really nice art style in that one. I see why everybody loves it so much. I beat High on Life. That game I talked about in December for sure, I think. For sure. Yeah. High on Life. And then I beat the game, and then like a couple days later is like all this stuff coming out about Justin Roiland, and it's like, dang, this dude is in a pickle right now.
Oh yeah, his career is over.
The game itself pretty awesome. I think he stepped down from Squanch Games or whatever the developer publisher was for this game, but
yeah.
Great game. Still recommend it to whoever. And then I beat Castlevania Portrait of Ruin. That's another one I've been playing like throughout 2022. Glad to have that one done. And I'm streaming Sonic Adventure right now, so come hang out on Monday nights if you want to see me play through that on the Dreamcast.
You're playing the Dreamcast version? Wow.
I am. Yeah.
Cool, man. How do you stream that?
Same way you stream everything else. I have like this HDMI to composite converter, so you just plug the red, white, and yellows into this little device, and it puts it into HDMI.
You're talking like I've ever streamed anything. I don't know that.
Well, no worries. I just explained it to you. Yeah, it's I don't know. I've had some issues with it for sure. Streaming in general just kind of like f's up my computer. I think it f's up everyone's computer with like audio issues and just does weird, inexplicable things. I don't understand, but
Well, that's old technology for you.
the next game I will be starting is Bayonetta. And the reason I bring that up is because we'll be doing a Bayonetta podcast in March. So we are going to be trying something new this year and in the future, I guess, if y'all like it. But we're just going to play a game and we're going to freaking talk about it in a monthly episode, right? So March's episode is going to be all about Bayonetta, our thoughts on it. We're going to break it down, talk about the story, the gameplay, everything in between. And we'll probably let you guys vote in the future on what game we played. But we're starting with Bayonetta, and I'm excited for that.
Yeah, me too. It's something that I think we have very limited experience with, and I think it's a growing series, so might as well dip our toes in the water and play the first one.
Dipping our toes. Hannah, what you been buying lately?
Well, again, under the been gifted section, I think we need to have that. You got me Harvestella, which is the Square Enix RPG kind of farm sim, which I'm so excited to play. But like I said earlier, I think I have to put that off until I actually get Bayonetta done. Because Harvestella seems like one of those ones where it's going to suck you in, for like 200 hours and then not let go.
Oh, dang.
And then I got Taiko no Tatsujin. Well, you gave me that one. Rhythm Festival, which is the rhythm-based drum game, which I'm very excited for. It's got all sorts of songs from like anime and video games, so I'm very excited for that one. And then I also got No Man's Sky, which is one of those ones that I wanted way back when. I think it was probably the first year we did the podcast of ports of games we want coming to the Switch, and that finally came out. I traveled all the way to Colorado to get it. It was one of those coincidental things. It was $20 at Target, but it was pickup only, and so it was not available in any of the Targets in the state of Florida. But coincidentally, when I went to Colorado, it was available there. So I literally ordered it thousands of miles away to pick it up for $20.
That's
so excited
great.
about that one. I also picked up Dragon Quest XI. I don't know if we talked about that last episode, but that was a Mercari purchase for me. I also got Corrin Player 2, the amiibo. That's a Fire Emblem amiibo. The second one, the Player 2 one, was like really difficult to find and really expensive when it came out. Selling for like $200 in the box. But now you can go to Best Buy and Target and Amazon and just buy it for $16. So that was nice. Then I also picked up the Sephiroth and Kazuya amiibo, which were the new Super Smash Bros. Amiibos that came out. I think it's the second to last wave. The only other ones are the Xenoblade Chronicles 2 amiibo, which we haven't seen anything about, so I'm scared that they're not going to do it, but I really hope they do.
That's the longest list in a long time, Hannah.
I know. Well, Christmas and everything else. But yeah, very excited.
Long-time listeners of the show will remember that Hannah likes to play Guitar Hero with the controller, so I thought that Taiko no Tatsujin would be perfect for her.
Bro, everyone knows that playing it with a controller is way superior. Okay? It's great.
Please drop a comment and let me know.
What about you?
I was gifted Axiom Verge 2 by the Game Girl Advance SP herself. Thank you very much for that.
That's me!
I want to play the first game still. I have it digitally. So yeah, I definitely will be playing this game. They both look fantastic, and also want to play Dead Cells, another big... I don't even know what to call it. It's kind of a Metroidvania from that era, but yeah.
It's a
have a lot
roguelike,
of...
isn't it?
I think it's both, is what my friends told me.
Huh, that's just interesting. It's also getting Castlevania DLC, as I remember, right?
Yeah, Yeah, that's kind of why I want to rush and play that one before that comes out, which it's not like the DLC is going to disappear, so I don't know why I need to rush, but whatever.
Alrighty then.
um, I bought Batman Dark Tomorrow, which is this GameCube game with like god awful reviews, but it came with a comic book, and I think that is cool as heck and worth mentioning. Um,
Ooh, that's
Phantasy Star
cool.
Online 1 and 2. I have all the Phantasy Star games on GameCube now. I did something crazy. I bought Mega Man X Command Mission on GameCube. Turns out, it was like $100. Turns out, I already have it, Hannah. Who does that?
Oh no! How did you
And,
not know?
um, and like, there's a return policy on eBay that I could totally return it, but I just feel like it's my fault, and I shouldn't burden the seller with that. And, I don't know. I'm gonna try to trade it, I guess, for some other GameCube games. So hit me up if you're
Ugh,
listening.
dang man,
Yeah,
don't you keep track of your stuff on an app? Come on.
yeah, yeah. That's the sad part. It's ridiculous. I bought Virtua
Oh boy.
Quest on the GameCube. I've never heard anyone talk about this game, and it's kind of uncommon. But like, what in the world? Like, everyone loves RPGs. Everyone loves the GameCube. This game must suck or something because no one talks about this game. Have you
Huh.
ever heard of
That
Virtua
sounds
Quest?
familiar. Yeah, I have, but I don't know where and I don't know why.
I was playing it because I always test my games out for like 5 or 10 minutes, but I was playing it a little bit, and it's this kind of game where you are like, I haven't watched Sword Art Online, but this is what I imagine Sword Art Online is like. Like, you get into a video game, right? Like, you put on a headset or something and you go into the world. It's just like that. And
Hmm.
yeah, I don't know. That's
It really
Virtua
must
Quest.
suck, because SAO is super popular.
I know, it sounds like a really cool concept, and you're just like, why has no one ever asked for a port on the Switch like they do every other game? Um, Virtua Quest, guys. I got something in the mail, and it was crazy. So, all right, this is the biggest. If everything else in 2023 goes wrong, this is still a good year because that's the kind of pickup this is. I got Rayman 2: The Great Escape on PlayStation, but I didn't just get Rayman 2: The Great Escape on PlayStation. I got the freaking wristwatch bundle that I have been looking for, trying to buy for literal years of my life. I bid over $400 at one point to try to win this on auction and lost. And I was on
Four hundred
eBay.
dollars,
I
dude.
was on eBay
Four hundred
and
dollars.
and I got on my save search and it said there was a new Rayman watch listing available. I clicked on it. It was buy it now. It wasn't even a freaking auction. It was buy it now for $25. And it was the outer box and the wristwatch. So no game. The game's like $20, okay? I bought this in a freaking heartbeat, and it got here, and my heart dropped so far because I got a notification that it was delivered. I checked the mailbox. It wasn't freaking there. I was like, nothing ever goes wrong with my USPS orders or whatever. Nothing ever goes wrong with any of my orders. But this one, this extremely rare game, had some freaking issue. Um, Long story short, USPS like got back to me within like 15 minutes of filing something online, which was crazy, and it all worked out, and it's sitting right next to me now.
$400. That is insane, dude. That
And
is
I
awesome though.
lost.
$25? Heck yeah.
It all worked out, right? I still have 375 extra dollars in my wallet.
That just goes to show that if you wait long enough, I'm sure something will pop up. That's what I keep thinking about some of the stuff that I want that's rather expensive. One day
Yeah,
I'll see
you and
it.
me both.
That's cool though. Are you going to display it? You have a watch stand?
So the watch actually pops out of the front, like you can see it in the front of the box. So I'm not sure what I'm gonna
Oh,
do because it doesn't fit normally on the shelf like a normal PS1 box. So I gotta figure that out.
huh. Cool, man.
Thank you, thank you. Um, And then I got my first ever TurboGrafx 16 game. I probably mentioned it in like November, but I got the console, which is cool. And I just got my first game. It's called The Legendary Axe. Looks like a 2D action platformer. Looks like a lot of fun. I'm excited to try that out.
Cool.
All right. I felt like that time it was kind of even with the bin buy-in, and usually it's super lopsided, so I'm happy about that. Good job
Yeah,
buying stuff, Hannah.
mark this down in the history books.
Let's get into some news real quick. I only wrote a couple things down. What do you have for us?
Oh boy, I have tons of stuff. So this is just
Good.
like personal news that I'm excited about. So Ys the Oath of Felghana, which is I think it's another PSP game, has been announced to be coming to the Switch in Japan on April 27th of this year. So hopefully we'll see it get translated and come to US hopefully sometime this year, probably later. Also Ys 10, which is the next game in the series, called Ys 10 Nordics, is also coming sometime this year. So it's a big year for Ys. I think it's the 35th
Dude, I didn't even
anniversary.
hear either of those things.
Yeah, I just know. I'm up to date on the Ys things. But yeah, I'm very excited for that. So the PSP game, like all freaking Ys PSP games, is like $200 or something crazy. So it's getting remade and it's coming to the Switch, which is just great news. I wish they'd do that with all the games. But
Awesome.
35th anniversary, big year for Ys. So we'll see. Hopefully there's more stuff. Also, Dokapon Kingdom, which was a PS2 and Wii game, which is super expensive on both platforms, by the way, is getting, I don't know if it's a remake or if it's a new game in the series, but it's Dokapon Kingdom Connect is coming to the Switch. Did you ever play this game?
I think it's just a port. I haven't played it. It looks like a pretty fun like Mario Party type of game, but also an RPG or something. I don't know. It looks fun.
Yeah, so I've heard it's a cross between it's got like RPG elements, but it's also a board game, which I think sounds really fun. I've never bought it because it's like freaking $200, but I think it'd definitely be fun to play with friends.
Yeah, if it
And
has
it's also getting
online
physical.
play, that might be a good one for us to try together.
I agree. That'd be super fun. But yeah, it's getting a physical in US and Europe. So yay, go team. Also, Nintendo of France has announced that the Switch is the best-selling console of all time in the country. Woohoo!
Dang.
Good stuff. Also, GoldenEye 007 is available right now for Nintendo Switch Online users. It just released
snap.
yesterday. It was like, not shadow dropped, but Nintendo was on Twitter was like, hey, you can play this tomorrow. And everyone's like, hell yeah. It's awesome. I think it's also available for Xbox. But
Yes, it is.
I don't know if you can buy it outright or if it's on Game Pass or whatever. I'm not sure.
I think there's some weird differences between the two versions or something, and I don't know exactly the details, but I think the way it works is you own the game if you have, what is it called? Rare Replay, your favorite words to say.
Rare
and then,
Replay.
I think it's on Game Pass too, something like that, but I don't think it's like cross-platform. I don't think you can play with Switch people.
No, I don't think you can either. But that is freaking... I'm so excited to play that. I was going to play it last night so that I could talk about it, but I was too busy taking notes for the podcast. Next, Fire Emblem Engage just released, so go check that out if you're a Fire Emblem fan. Also, I know this is not a rumors podcast, but I had to write something down. So, rumors of a direct happening. Usually Nintendo has their direct in January, but the last couple years they've been doing it in February. So we'll see if it's going to be next month, but of course there's always rumors about a direct. But there might be some breadcrumbs here. Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom, and Advance Wars 1 and 2. Their IDs on the eShop have been updated, so I guess Nintendo's kind of updating some things behind the scenes. Also, Amazon Mexico has listed Advance Wars on their website again, so we could see a release date or a direct at some point. We know it's coming, we just don't know when.
Could
Also,
be the
Jack
year of
Pacific.
Advance Wars.
Heck yeah, I hope it is. That means I win some points on the draft, hopefully. Then Jack's Pacific, which is the toy company that handles a lot of Nintendo's toys, we'll talk about them later, reveals the new Mario movie-themed toys. They look just slightly different than the normal Mario toys. Like, Mario's face is a little slimmer and
Oh
his eyes
yeah.
are a little closer together. And their overalls and whatever, they just look slightly different. They look a little bit off. So, I don't know. They got different molds for all those, I guess. And then, do you think Nintendo's going to have a successor this year? No, you know what they're doing? They're just upping production of more regular old Switches. So we can put all that Switch successor, Switch 2, Switch Pro, blah, 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 away for a while, because I don't think that's coming anytime soon.
People are going to keep complaining about graphics, and we're going to keep... Those same people are going to keep buying all the Nintendo first-party games. It just doesn't matter, you know? They can do whatever they want over there.
Nintendo gonna be Nintendo. Then last thing, it's another personal news thing for me, but it's also a rumor. There are rumors that Baten Kaitos, or however you want to say that, Baten Kaitos, Eternal Wings in the Lost Ocean may be getting a remake coming to the Switch, and I am so darn happy. How cool would that be?
Wow. I didn't hear that either.
So, yeah, if you didn't know,
title.
It's a GameCube game, and it was in collaboration with, like, Monolith Soft, but, like, before they had declared themselves Monolith Soft, just the creators of all the Xenoblade Chronicles games, and Bandai Namco. So we'll see. Sources say the release date for the remake is planned to be sometime this summer, with the reveal probably coming at E3. So we'll see. How exciting would that be, dude? I'm so excited.
So there's that other one, Origins, right? Did that one come out first or second?
That came out second, but I think it's a prequel, but I could be wrong.
That makes sense.
I'm pretty sure it's a prequel. But yeah, that's all I got for news, but that's some pretty good news, gotta say. For me, anyway.
Pretty good news. I have The Last of Us is out on the TV show on HBO Max. I haven't played the game.
Oh, yeah.
I know you haven't played the game, but that is incredibly successful so far. People are loving it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, are you watching it?
I think I will, but I haven't started.
I have started it, and I think they just renewed for season 2. It's good. I wouldn't say it's, like, mind-blowingly amazing, but I think we're only 2 episodes in, so who knows. But it's pretty good. I'd watch it.
So you can watch scary stuff, but you can't play scary stuff?
It is not as scary as you think it would be. There's been, like, no jump scares at all. But also, it's just, like, zombies. I mean, it's not that scary.
The other thing I wrote down is there was an Xbox event. I was, like, really busy at work. I didn't even watch any of this, but the biggest takeaway was this game Hi-Fi Rush that just dropped. It's like this rhythm action game that people are freaking loving. Obviously available on Game Pass, and it's just like, I guess it's called a shadow drop, where they were like, hey, here's this game, you can go play it right now. Yeah, I definitely want to check it out. You haven't seen the trailer or anything?
I think I have, but obviously I don't have an Xbox, so it doesn't apply to me. But yeah, I think I remember it looking pretty cool.
There's like this FPS that came out a year or two ago that is also rhythm based, and I want to try that one too. But more rhythm based games coming out. I think it's a popular thing. I love rhythm based
games, dude. They're so fun.
Yeah.
They're just so relaxing. You know?
Yeah. I don't have any experience, so no, I don't know. But it seems like it would be relaxing.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Anything else, Hannah?
Nope, that's it. I'm ready for the main topic.
29 minutes in, let's freaking get it. Before video games, we all know that Nintendo was a hanafuda card company and that they started way back in the late 1800s. But after that, they were throwing a ton of stuff at the wall for a long time to see what would stick. And I've heard rumors about some of the stuff we're going to talk about today. I've heard all kinds of things that Nintendo did. And I feel like I study video game history a lot. I study, I research things all the time, whether it's for myself or for this podcast. I watch YouTube stuff that just is entertaining to me, and I learned so much that I had no idea about.
Yeah, dude. Turns out Nintendo is just a really interesting company all around.
Very true. I'm excited to share this with you guys. What do we have up first? Hannah is up first. So talk to me
Me!
about what you're going to talk to me about.
Alright, so like you said, we all know Nintendo first started, their company first started being a card company, but they made very specific Japanese-inspired cards, obviously. They're called hanafuda cards, meaning flower cards in English. So hana in Japanese means flower. In English means flower, and fuda means like card or tag or like banknote. So it's exactly what you think it is. Their language is very literal. So I have a little like brief history here. I know we don't really care that much about hanafuda cards, but I thought it'd be interesting to talk about. So the Portuguese first introduced these cards in the mid 16th century, but they were actually banned along with other European cards by the Japanese government because of their connections to gambling and organized crime. So fun fact, Japan actually almost completely closed its borders for 265 years during the Edo period from 1603 to 1868, where travel and trade was incredibly limited. So like foreign people couldn't get in, and their like foreign culture, whatever, couldn't get in, and people couldn't leave. Japanese people couldn't leave. They're like stuck there.
I did not know that.
Yeah, for 265 years. So this period of time was called Sakoku, which literally means chain country, and is part of the reason why Japan has such like a cool, unique culture that you can't really find anywhere else. And so this is kind of where the period where hanafuda cards, at least the ones like we know today, were really kind of emerged. So hanafuda cards that we know today first appeared in the mid 1980s, which is after the ban was lifted. So they really started.
1880s?
That's how Nintendo. No, 1800s,
Or you meant
mid
1980s.
1800s.
Wait, what?
What?
You said 1980s. Is that what you meant to say?
No, 1800s. Mid
Okay.
1800s, sorry. After the ban on the cards was lifted, that's how Nintendo kind of got their feet into the water there with making these kind of
Gotcha.
cards, because the ban was lifted and the president was like, hell yeah, let's go into production and make these cards. So there are 48 cards in the deck, divided into 12 suits of 4 cards each, and each suit kind of represents a month of the year. So usually there's an image of like a flower or like a plant or like an image that relates to the month on it. So, for example, January is like a pine tree, March is cherry blossoms, and November is a willow. So there was no numbers or anything. It was just a picture on one side, and then the other side was usually like a plain color, like red or black. And they're a lot smaller than regular playing cards. Like we think of like, 1, 2, 3, 4, king, queen, ace. They're smaller and they're also thicker because they were made of like wood back in the day, like bark. So that's pretty cool. But then
That is cool.
Nintendo's hanafuda history, Nintendo specifically formed to make these hand-painted cards in 1889. So Nintendo was incredibly old. Nintendo was founded by Yamauchi. His first name was Fasujiro Yamauchi on September 23rd, 1889. So the cards Nintendo made became very popular, so Yamauchi had to hire more assistants, whatever, to like help mass produce these cards, because they're all hand-painted. So you needed more people to paint all of these cards. Could you believe that? They're all hand-painted.
Every single pack was unique.
That is true. They're all unique, and they're all really ornate. So I don't know if you've ever seen them, but the pictures on them are like beautiful. It's like so ornate and detail-oriented flowers and pictures of plants and stuff. It's really cool. So at some point, they became the largest card manufacturer in Japan. They were the first to sell plastic cards, so they went from wood and bark and stuff over to plastic, and even made a deal with Disney to print Disney characters on their cards.
You will see that as a trend as we go through their history here. There's a lot of Nintendo and Disney crossovers.
I was thinking about that, and then I was thinking, why hasn't Disney and Nintendo done like more collaborations in the future? And then I was thinking about Kingdom Hearts, and I was like, they straight up Disney gave their IP to some other company to work with. Could you imagine how cool a game like Kingdom Hearts with Disney IP would have been on Nintendo stuff?
Yeah, for sure.
We got backstabbed, man. So Nintendo became nope, I already read that. Next. Fun fact. So I mentioned earlier that European cards were banned because they were associated with gambling, because they were like numbered, so it's easier to kind of memorize what their denominations were versus like this flower means this value, you know?
Right.
So hanafuda were still used for gambling, of course. So even like the Yakuza were freaking gambling with Nintendo cards, which I thought is hilarious. There are even reports of Yakuza getting like tattoos inspired by the patterns on Nintendo's cards, which is just great. It's just so great. This is something else I found in my research. I'm not sure if this is true. I mean, you could say a number of things about Nintendo stuff, but Nintendo's flower patterns have also influenced their early games like Super Mario Bros. On the NES. We're all familiar. The flower power ability, where Mario shoots fireballs, is said to be inspired by the patterns on the cards.
Oh.
So that's fun. They've always integrated their cards into their gameplay, into their games at some point. I don't know if that's really true, but I read it. So internal politics aside, there was like deaths in the family, or like people leaving, or like people deserting the family, or like people or the founders only having daughters, so they had to like adopt whatever. Doesn't matter. Anyway, internal politics aside, in 1950, the original founder's grandson took over the company and renamed the company Nintendo Karuta, which I don't know if you looked at it, but there's like a lot of renaming of Nintendo.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was called Nintendo. I don't want to really go into all of that, but yeah. So Nintendo was famous for making hanafuda cards, like we said, but they also made other kind of cards too. So Karuta or Uta Karuta version, I think is the coolest kind of version of the game. So at some point, like I mentioned earlier, Portuguese brought over the cards mid 16th century, blah 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 blah. But those cards were referred to as Karuta, so it's like the original cards they brought over were called Carta in Portuguese, I guess, and so then just generations of Japanese people saying Carta kind of turned into Karuta. So at some point, the game Karuta and regular cards and playing cards kind of like diverged at some point because they mean completely different things now. If you say Karuta in Japan, it's like a specific game, a specific kind of card. So I don't know exactly when they kind of diverged there, but anyway, just know that Karuta means a specific game in Japan right now and a different set of cards.
Gotcha.
So they're kind of similar in style. Like they obviously were made of like bark and like wood back in the day, but now obviously they're just made of plastic. There are different kinds of Karuta, but the one that I'm most familiar with and I so want to play, I wanted to play it so bad, it's competitive Karuta. So there are two kinds of cards in the games. There's Torifuda and Yomifuda. So Torifuda are the cards that like the player grabs, and then Yomifuda, Yomi meaning reading, Fuda meaning card, are the cards that the player reads. There's 100 cards in each deck, so that's 200 cards total. I'm going to try to explain this as best I can, but it's kind of confusing if you don't know what I'm talking about. So the Yomifuda, which there's a designated player that reads, has a classically drawn like Japanese picture, like really intricate, really, if you looked at it, you'd be like, oh, that's probably some Asian art of some sort. And it has like a complete poem on it. And these poems are taken from the Hyakunin Isshu, which is a Japanese anthology of 100 Japanese poems, waka poems, which is like, I don't want to say ancient Japanese, but it's like the Japanese language from a long time ago by 100 poets. So hyakunin meaning 100 people and Isshu meaning each. So together that means 100 people, one poem each. So I think that's super cool.
I did see a little bit about this doing my research. That's cool.
Yeah. So I took a lots of Japanese literature classes, so like pre-modern Japanese, modern Japanese, and postmodern. So I actually got to read some of these poems by these people, and it was really incredible.
Wow.
I don't know if you like poetry or like interested in poetry. I'm not super interested, but because it was Japanese, I thought it was really interesting. It's like they're crafted with so few words, but like so much feeling. It was incredible.
That's awesome.
Anyway, so the Torifuda, which are the ones that you actually play with, have the last phrases of the poem. So the cards come in pairs. So like the Yomifuda has the full poem, and then the Torifuda has like just the last phrases of it. So when the reader reads out the Yomifuda with the poem on it, you have to find the corresponding Torifuda that's sitting in front of you. And so I know this is not the most accurate source, but I watched an anime about it because I can't help myself. And anyway, so the game is really competitive. You're sitting across from somebody, like, you know how, I don't know, Japanese people kind of sit on their knees, like when they're eating like dinner and stuff. So it's kind of like that, but you're kind of like hunched over all these cards laying out in front of you. And so, like I said, the Yomifuda is the cards that they're reading. And so the goal of the game is to like get as many cards as you can. But you have to like hear what they're saying and then match it up to the card that's sitting in front of you, the corresponding card. And you have to like swipe it out of the way as fast as you can. And if you like fault or hit a card that's not the correct one, your player like gives you like a penalty card. It is so interesting to watch, and I wanted to play it. I think I'd be so good at it. But you have to have like really good hearing and really fast reflexes. I don't know if that makes any sense, but it's a really competitive game. You did a great
job explaining it. I get it.
Cool. So that's probably the coolest thing I think that they've made. But there's also like other versions. So there's Iroha Karata, which is like an easy, simplified matching game for kids. There's 96 cards total, and there's like a short sentence or like parts of a poem on one card, and then there's a corresponding card with just like the syllable on it. So instead of poems, the cards represent the 47 syllables of hiragana, which is equivalent to like the Japanese alphabet. Same kind of rules apply. A person reads the card and they have to find the matching card, but it's for kids. So it's like one syllable and then like a sentence on the other one. And then Nintendo also made just regular old normal playing cards, like the Western cards, but they called them trump cards because it's based on the English word trump, which means a suit that outranks all of the cards. So like a trump card or like a trump suit. Have you heard of that?
Yeah, so I was doing research. I saw trump cards, but I knew you were taking this section. So, I was thinking about that phrase, like, oh, you haven't seen my trump card yet or whatever. I was like, what is that? What is the correlation there?
Yeah, so it has nothing to do with the President of the United States or anything like that, but it's like, it's a suit that outranks all other cards. So I think that's really cool. So they're like, yeah, we'll call them trump cards.
Nice.
Also, fun fact, they also, Nintendo's got a history. So they also printed pin-up playing cards. Do you know what that is? Pin-up?
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically Nintendo printed naked women on their cards, and I think that's something we can't ignore. So I looked up some pictures just because I was curious, and so the cover over like the deck of cards was designed such that the woman on the front is like fully clothed or whatever, but like when you pull the right side of the cover over, it reveals a totally completely naked woman underneath. So Nintendo did that. Also, another fun fact, so among Nintendo's most popular hanafuda cards are called Daitorio cards, which translates to president in English. But the cards were themed around like Napoleon the Emperor.
Wow.
So people were confused why they would make them president cards and not like emperor cards, whatever. But people were unsure why he did that, but they think that he accidentally confused the portrait of Napoleon with a picture of George Washington, and I think that's so funny. But they also thought that maybe it was like a lost in translation thing, and he thought that maybe emperor was equivalent to president, which I guess it is, but I don't know, I still find that funny. So another fun fact, I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but in 1959, Nintendo president Yamauchi traveled to the US and struck a deal with Walt Disney Productions, and they allowed Nintendo to print Disney characters on their cards. With this license, Nintendo also made their first ever TV advertisement that focused on these playing cards. So they're also in the TV business too. Yeah. So the cards sold so freaking well that Nintendo tripled their profits and had enough money to enter the Kyoto and Osaka Stock Exchange. So heck yeah. And also the cards that I saw weren't like hanafuda or karata cards. They were just like normal Western cards. So, and I looked at some of them like on eBay just to see how expensive they were. They're not that bad. Like there was a whole pack unopened for like $80. And
Yeah,
they
that
had
would be a
pictures
really
of,
cool thing for the collection.
yeah, Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, 101 Dalmatians, Peter Pan and crew, Minnie Mouse, and Bambi. And all sorts of other cool Nintendo characters. I also saw that they said, like, I can't remember exactly what they said, but like the number that they printed is kind of like undetermined at this point. So there could be a gajillion out there, or there could be like 10,000 packs. We don't know.
Hmm.
Also, another fun fact to wrap up this section. Early in 2006, Nintendo and Mitsubishi Materials Corporation cooperated to make really expensive playing cards made out of pure gold. So,
Wow.
that was something that they did. Do you want to guess how much they sold for?
Oh man, I have no idea. Pure gold. No, I don't want to sound like a fool.
Well, it was about $4,000 at the time, which seems like a steal in my opinion. I'm sure they're way more expensive now. But, yeah, interesting collaboration they did.
Was that in Japan only?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Because, I mean, it said that sold in yen, so I assume yes.
Mitsubishi's another one of those companies that's like got their hands in so many different industries. I feel like I had
It's
a freaking
wild.
Mitsubishi TV as a kid. They, everyone knows them for cars, but they do a lot of stuff.
Yeah, they do. It's another Japanese company, obviously. But yeah, man, Japanese people be wild. That's all I
Well,
got.
thank you for making that interesting. I'm not sure I could have made it quite that interesting. Good job there.
I tried.
Let's start off with a rumor that has been talked about for so long. This is the first thing I researched. Okay, so there's everyone on the internet likes to talk about Nintendo's Love Hotel. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so you look up Japanese love hotels. They are hotels that would allow you to pay less if you stayed for a shorter period of time. So you didn't have to stay for the entire night like you do at a regular hotel. You don't have to buy like a whole night's worth. You can say, "Oh, I just want to be here for 3 hours." Um, yeah, you could do that, and you
For that
could save
reason.
some money. Yeah, I don't even know what you're talking about, Hannah. Popular. These became pretty popular for such events as cheating on your spouse and prostitution, or in some cases
No!
both.
Oh, nice.
Um, yeah, so pretty obvious. They're not called love hotels, I don't think, but that is like the slang term for them. Um,
Yeah, welcome to my love hotel.
so oftentimes they will have themed rooms that you can choose from. And when I read that, I was like, oh my gosh, that's what was in this freaking the Wolverine from like 2012 or something. Like, there's like a scene where they end up staying in one of those, and I had no idea why it was like that. I just thought it was Japanese culture, or I don't know. But I guess it is technically Japanese culture. But yeah,
Yeah,
there are
they still
themed
exist.
rooms.
They're in the red light district.
um, so it turns out that before the 1960s, the internet will say that before the 1960s, Nintendo was still trying to figure out what they wanted to do, and they ran love hotels. But last year, somebody did extensive research to look into this, looking through 20 different history of Nintendo books, and could not find a single ounce of truth behind that. Every time you look at where people are talking about this online, it comes from there's no source, or the source is not credible, and it kind of looks like they didn't actually do it. They didn't actually own any love hotels,
Oh,
so
really?
you're gonna have to settle for the pinup dolls. I mean, the pinup cards as being the most interesting thing Nintendo did. But yeah, I definitely wanted to bring that up and talk about it. It was like literally 2022. Someone did a extensive research, and it's possible that Nintendo wiped the records clean of any sign of it possibly being true, but that seems kind of unlikely.
No, I don't think so. Well, so Nintendo has like this little history section on their own website, but they have like, yeah, they started with the hanafuda cards, and then that was it. There was like nothing else about it. So there's no mention of pinup girl cards, nothing like that. I'm sure they struck it off in the record.
Seems kind of difficult in this day and age, but I suppose it's possible, especially when you got
Yeah.
big money.
That's so funny. I swear that was the thing, though. But I guess it was just a rumor this whole time.
It is definitely an urban legend, yeah. There's no
Dang it.
proof.
Oh, man.
Um, yeah, there's your lesson on love hotels. We're going to take it into another thing that Nintendo did around the 60s. There is incredibly scarce information about this as well, but every website will tell you two things. Nintendo owned a taxi firm for only a few months and then had to sell it because of issues with labor unions, and no one has any clue what those issues were except like they say salary increasing for drivers was the issue. I don't know. And the other thing they say is that it's now owned by a company called Daya. And so, yeah, Nintendo owned a taxi firm for a very short period of time in like the 60s, early 70s. And there's a picture of President Yamauchi near a Nintendo taxi, and it's definitely taken in the 70s. So,
Dude, you know
that
what would have been
one,
so cool?
what?
If they had a taxi service, but they had like a Nintendo 64, like an NES, Jay chilling in the back. I know it's much, much later, like 30 years later after the 60s, but you know, imagine how cool that would have
Absolutely.
been
Heck yeah.
to offer that in the back of your taxi.
Just with a giant CRT in the back. Yeah.
Revolutionary, man.
So I need like Norman Caruso to cover this on the Gaming Historian or something because there's like no information. No one is digging into the records, and yeah, that is all I can tell you about the Nintendo Taxi Service.
Wow.
And then we move into a device from a Mr. Gunpei Yokoi from 1979.
The man
This
himself.
Yes, the man, for those of you that don't know, that created the Game Boy and the Game & Watch and everything. We're going to talk about a remote-controlled vacuum cleaner. It is a red spherical thing that looks kind of like a Roomba.
I was just about to say it's a Roomba.
Hang on, let me make sure I'm not confusing something with what I'm about to say. Because there's this picture online. Okay, yeah. So this is the vacuum cleaner. Oh, I guess you guys can't see my screen, but there is a vacuum cleaner when you Google Nintendo vacuum cleaner that pops up. It looks like a friggin' Roomba, and it's oftentimes posted. Well, actually, you know what? I'll save this fact for a couple minutes. I'll bring this up in a minute. So there's a vacuum cleaner from Gunpei Yokoi. It's called the Chiritori, which means dustpan. And 1979, like I said, it was created kind of as like a novelty toy rather than like something to replace your vacuum cleaner at home. So this thing could only turn left, and it came with stickers to decorate it with. So like definitely not something to replace your expensive vacuum cleaner with. I don't even know why this exists or who was buying this. I could see this for sale at like Bed Bath and Beyond or something, like near the front. Like this is a piece of garbage that you could totally play with once. I don't know.
That's awesome.
Only turned left. I love it.
Well, four lefts make a right, right? That's awesome. They were so ahead of their time, man. Who would have?
Yeah. So,
thought?
right.
That's great.
So there's what I was gonna say a minute ago is Nintendo tried to get into instant rice. Okay, so there was every time you look this up on the internet, there is a picture that goes with the instant rice, but it's the freaking vacuum cleaner because people think it's like a rice cooker. So, yeah, that's what it's a Roomba / rice cooker. No, I mean it's funny, but everyone thinks that this is what this is, so don't get misled when you look this up.
Well, how about a vacuum cleaner that roams around but only taking left turns, but also cooks your rice? They didn't try that one.
That's very true. That's why they didn't succeed in the vacuum business.
Dang.
Yeah, so President Yamauchi thought that creating instant rice would be just as successful as instant noodles, which had recently become very popular. Other companies were already doing instant rice, though, and Nintendo's must not have been super delicious because it didn't last too long. There is, once again, very little credible information about this. Maybe if I were, like, looking into Japanese websites or could speak Japanese, then, maybe there is more out there, but I couldn't find a whole lot.
That's
And
something I didn't even think about, is looking at Japanese websites. Dang it.
dang.
I know. It's my bad.
All right, pause the episode here. We're going to do more research.
And go.
Okay, so I did want to keep this one going. This is kind of a tangent, but I think it's super interesting. It is rice related, but it doesn't have to do with instant rice. Basically, in 1988, long after they stopped selling their own rice, they used Mario to promote another rice company. A year after the Famicom came out, the Japanese government made it illegal to rent games. I don't know why, I don't know what they had against renting games, but Nintendo's workaround was sending out Famicom disc writing kiosks around the country. Have you heard about this?
No.
So I've heard a little bit about this before, but basically it was a kiosk that you would probably find at like an electronics store or wherever you buy video games, and the kiosk would take an empty Famicom Disk System disc. So I guess I should talk about that real quick. The Famicom Disk System was an add-on to the Famicom, came out a few years after the Famicom, and instead of using cartridges, it used like floppy disk type technology, and yeah, that's your history lesson there. But the kiosk would take an empty disc and write an entire game onto it, and you would pay 500 yen, which is very inexpensive, much less than the cost of a full retail game. And yeah, you pay 500 yen, you take home a brand new game and keep it forever.
What?
I know, and if you're wondering why anyone would ever pay retail for a game, it's because not all games were available on these machines. But yeah, I mean, like Super Mario Bros., why would you ever go and buy the game if you could just do this? I don't understand.
I was about to say, it's probably like golf games or like football games or soccer games or something dumb, but cool, man.
Funny you should mention that.
Why don't we get these weird rice kiosks?
Yeah, absolutely. Funny you should mention that, but, well, first of all, we didn't have an NES disc system, so that's one reason.
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, but they could have converted it to NES cartridges.
I haven't even gotten to the rice part, Hannah. Basically,
sorry.
So yeah, there were a ton of first-party Nintendo games available on it. Freaking Mario, Zelda, which is pretty sweet. But you did have golf. I thought that was funny that you mentioned that.
Nice.
But you could replace the game on the cart for another 500 yen, or I don't know why you would do that when you could just get another disc and do that for 500 yen. Seems like this insanely good deal, and seems way better than renting, that's for sure. Anyways.
Yeah.
To get into the rice part of it, an enhanced version of Mario Bros., not Super Mario Bros., but the arcade game, was released exclusively for the disc writer, and I'm sure you can see where this is going already. You would get the original Mario Bros. With better gameplay, audio, visuals. Like, the biggest issue with the original Mario Bros. On NES and Famicom is, like, you jump and that's it. There's no turning left. Like, you jump to the right, you cannot change direction.
Right.
And they fixed that, among other things. But that's like the biggest gameplay fix in the Famicom Disk System, exclusive for the disc writer here. But
why did I not know that?
I know this is this is new to me. I've never heard of this. But they then decided that they could profit further off of this opportunity and partnered with Nagatanian, a rice and noodle company. And the game has a handful of ads for rice and made this disc only 400 yen. So that's Mario great. Is literally selling you rice in this game. You have to watch these cutscenes, which are just commercials, before you can play the game. It's incredible.
That's great. They freaking replaced all the coins in the game with rice.
So instead of having to pay 500 yen, they made it 400 yen to entice people to buy it. This version of the game is called Kaita Kita Mario Bros, which means Return of the Mario Bros in Japanese.
That is fantastic. I love everything about that story.
The game's ROM has definitely been dumped and hacked with an English translation, so you can play it online. And this is the last fun fact I have for you on this. The kiosks lasted until freaking 2003. It was like 15
What?
years. Yeah. I mean, the GameCube was out.
That is so cool. Wait. Was it still like rice themed? Like, are there still ads for rice?
I mean, the Rice thing was only for this one game.
Oh,
So,
dang.
yeah, I don't know if
I'd
I
say that's a
confused.
really long partnership with rice.
So, yeah, I mean, I guess you could get this copy of Mario Brothers written onto your disc for 15 years. Yeah. The,
That is
what was the
incredible.
company name? I
I wonder if
lost it.
they're still selling rice.
Yeah, I should have looked that up too.
That is so cool. Oh, it's great.
I freaking love it. Yeah, I would like to play this version. Or I don't know. You can see the cutscenes online. All right. So I have one more section to cover before I pass the microphone back. We are. So I had no freaking clue how many toys Nintendo did before ever even entering the video game market, before arcades and home consoles, before Atari, like so much toys. um, and I have to immediately shout out the Before Mario blog. Did you come across this site at all?
I did not know.
It's been run for years, like over a decade, by a guy named Eric Voskule. He collects all of this stuff. He has a collection of all the stuff I'm about to talk about, and he writes extensive blog posts with high-res images from his collection and absolutely no advertisements. I have to throw that in there.
Oh, that's
Talking
awesome.
about this stuff, yeah. He wrote a book too, so everyone needs to go buy that, including myself. He wrote a book called Before Mario, and you can purchase it online from Europe. You got to pay for shipping if you're in the U.S., but looks like a gorgeous hardcover book with glossy pages, and it's really not that expensive. So I'm gonna add that to my wish list for my birthday. I think it's very cool.
Cool.
All that out of the way, thank you to a Mr. Eric for all of the information I'm about to present here. But we're gonna get started with board games because Nintendo had a foot in the board game industry for over a decade, and I had no idea. First one that I will be talking about, 1963's Disney Mickey Mouse card. Nintendo licensed a ton of Disney before they went into the video game industry. Like we mentioned earlier, this is basically just Dominoes but with Disney characters. It's pretty much a localization of the Walt Disney Dominoes game that already existed in the US, which was released by a company called Transagram. Um, yeah, not too much to say about that one. It's Dominoes with Disney characters. Then we
Sweet.
get into the Huckleberry Hound game, which was obviously licensed from the Hanna-Barbera property. It is a clone of Snakes and Ladders, and Nintendo used the brand Nippon Game to release several of their board games around this era, including this one. So you'll see, I'm not going to go into it. I know you were talking about the change of name for a while too, but the Nintendo with board games and toys would oftentimes brand it with like NG, which at one point meant Nippon Game, and at a later point meant a Nintendo game. So like, there's a lot of logo changes in the 60s, 70s, 80s until they finally settled on the one we know today. But yeah. Next board game, Kataibon. Kataibon translates to home board, which it was a box that came with 6 board games, 3 double-sided boards inside. You had such classic hits as Rocket Game, Baseball Game, Donald and Mickey
Whoa.
Game, Frontierland Game, Seven Dwarves Game, and Diamond Game, which is just a variant of Chinese checkers.
Chinese checkers. I was just about to say, I bet there's some Chinese checkers on there.
Yeah, a staple. Um, They licensed games from Milton Bradley. They had freaking Twister over there in Japan in
Whoa.
1966. They had Marble Game, which, that name does nothing for me, but when you see a picture, it's like that one game where it's a maze and you have to get the marbles to the middle.
Oh.
I
Huh. What is
Somehow
that called?
Milton Bradley had the freaking rights to a marble and a maze, like that's crazy to me, but
Oh, they were gonna say Mancala.
no, I don't. What is that?
That's the one where there's like the board kind of looks like an egg carton, and you have these rocks, and you have to go one, two, three, skip, skip, and then each person has like a side, and the goal is to get as many past your side as many times as you can and drop little pebbles in. You've never seen that game? I'm sure you have.
Oh yeah, I've never known the name of that. Yeah,
I think it's Mancala. I could sound
you're
like an
right.
idiot.
I'm
I don't
looking at
know.
it. Interesting. Okay, next up we have Nintendo Disney baseball game from 1960 and baseball board from 65. I'm going to dumb these down quite a bit, but these are kind of similar mechanical board games that would have one player basically be the pitcher and the other player be the batter. One person pushes a button to swing. The other person, I guess I should say, one person tosses the ball as the pitcher, and then the other person pushes a button to swing at the right time. And they had like some clever ways to where you could hide the lever or the button to throw the pitch so that you wouldn't know when to hit the ball. To make it a little more challenging as the batter.
Ooh, sneaky.
Yeah. So these are cool little mechanical games from the 60s. And then My Car Race, which was around 1965. This one, not really a board game. I'll go ahead and mention it, but basically just imagine like a Hot Wheels track with a battery
Mm-hmm.
operated lift to bring these four tiny little race cars up like a quarter size, like the size of a quarter. Tiny little race cars. There's four of them, and you would put in like a 9-volt battery to like operate this track, and the track would lift the lift. No, I'm sorry. The battery would operate the lift, and it would bring like these four cars back up to the starting line on its own, which I think is super cool, honestly. Um, and so I don't know if I'm doing a good job of explaining it, but there's like they go around the
You're doing
track
great.
and they go to the end of the track, and you picture like when you're going up on a roller coaster, it's like that. That's what the battery was for. But yeah, just a little early pre Hot Wheels racing game. And
That's
then
awesome.
we go into. I know, I had no idea Nintendo was doing all this. Nintendo Table Soccer from 1965. Let me talk about that one real quick. It was basically. This one's kind of lame. You set up your team on a soccer themed board, and you take turns trying to score the ball, which is like a flat disc. It's not a ball at all. And you try to score it into your opponent's goal, of course. You push down on the disc with one of your players, and that causes the disc ball thing to flip up and land somewhere practically randomly. Um, and yeah, if you're lucky, you score a goal. There's like super lots of luck involved in this game. But if the ball landed close to your teammate, then you would get to continue playing. You would get to try again. If the ball lands next to the opponent's team member, then it's their turn. So that's a super
Huh.
lame way to play soccer. And then
Lame.
1970, they really kicked it up. This one is awesome, and I'm going to do my best. I think I can explain it pretty well. This one's called Dynamic Soccer. Um, just close your eyes, audience, and listen to this one here. Looks like a lot of fun. You open the box and you have a board with a bunch of craters in it. That's the best way I can describe it. It's like big valleys,
Craters.
and I'm going to use that word several more times. Some goalposts, and you got some defenders to set up, and a couple of air pumps. All right, sounds crazy and convoluted. Obviously, the goal of all soccer is to score in the other player's net. Now, there are 9 of these valley crater things labeled 1 through 9, and inside of these craters, you're going to set up your player. So half of them would be, I guess there's 9. I don't know how that worked now that I think about it. You're going to set up your players on the field, and they don't really do anything. They just kind of sit there and they will block the goal. Talk about them later. Both players had their own set of 9 holes on each side of the board. So you're sitting across from your opponent, and each person has 9 holes in front of them, labeled 1 through 9. And those holes obviously match up with the 9 valley crater things. And in each valley crater thing, there are 2 holes, all right? And let's say I hit the ball. I don't know how the game starts. I guess I missed that key ingredient. But after the game starts, you are going to hit the ball into one of these craters. It's going to land there, and then your goal is to sprint. Each player has a little hand pump, a little air pump. You sprint as fast as you can to put this pump into one of the 9 holes that matches up with the one that the ball just landed in, and you pump air into it, and that shoots the ball towards your opponent's goal. Does that make freaking sense?
Yeah, it does.
This game sounds like a blast to me. I don't know how well it worked, but oh my gosh, like that's the kind of high intense board game action I need in my life right there.
That sounds so cool.
You flip the board over and there's like this convolution of, I don't even think that's a word. There's a bunch of tubes just connecting everything underneath the board. And I imagine it was all set up. Hopefully you didn't have to connect the tubes yourself, but yeah, man, freaking soccer, dynamic soccer from 1970. Very cool.
Huh. It does sound dynamic. Wow, I've never heard of that in my entire life.
It does sound dynamic. Yeah, you're right. So yeah, there's like, it's crazy to me for one to think that these games existed, and it's crazier to me to think that this guy who runs this blog site has collected all of them over the years. He doesn't live in Japan, he lives in Europe, so he's had to go online to find a ton of stuff that definitely never released in his continent and just acquire this all. It's absolutely insane, but there's so much stuff out there.
Dude, so for my Japanese class, I did a lot of like presentations on Nintendo just because I find it fascinating, and I never once came across this at all.
That's crazy.
It's crazy. Wow.
And then I'm not going to go into the next few. I have a few more board games to mention, and this is not even all of them. There's so many, but there's Picture Cutter. There's Ultraman board game 1 and 2. Magic Roulette. There's Home Bowling. Hip Flip, which seems kind of like Twister. Actually, no, I did look at this one a little bit. It's not like Twister at all, but it's something to do with like 2 people conjoined at the hip, and they have to kind of finagle their bodies in a way to, I'm done. I'm not even going to try because I don't know what the goal is. And in the mid-'60s, there were a bunch of coaster games, kind of like the little race car one I was talking about earlier. There was like Rabbit Coaster 1 and 2, New Coaster Game, Ultra Coaster. Basically, you would use like a marble or this little jelly bean plastic thing and just like launch it down the coaster to see who would win. Just 60s things, you know how it is.
Do you know if any of these things were like actually like successful?
I don't know which ones were successful actually.
I mean, honestly, if dynamic soccer wasn't successful, I don't think anything would have been. That sounds so freaking fun. Especially with like a resurgence of like those cheapy, like you see on TikTok or like Instagram, like tabletop board games, like the one where you like fling the puck with the rubber band or whatever, or like I can't remember what it's called. You know what I'm talking about? Those ones that you play with friends when you're drunk.
No.
Somebody knows what I'm talking about out there.
Yeah, for sure.
That'd be so much fun. All right, am I up?
You are.
Wow, we've been talking for a long time. All right, so our next category here is manga. Honestly, there was not that much about like Nintendo and manga. So if you search Nintendo and manga, you're gonna get like a whole bunch of results. But all those are kind of like not in-house published or made by Nintendo. Nintendo just kind of like licensed their IP out. So I didn't find a lot that were like, I didn't find any that were made in-house by Nintendo. But if you happen to know any, that would be great. I just apparently didn't research that much. But I did find some interesting manga that I listed here using Nintendo's IPs that I thought were kind of fun or interesting or ones that I didn't know about. So one of the first ones, obviously it's one of the most popular ones, is The Legend of Zelda. So there's many, many, many comic runs of Legend of Zelda, but the one that I think people are most familiar with and is like the more modern one are the ones written by Akira Himekawa. So those are the ones, I'm sure you've seen it, that come in like the really nice Legend of Zelda chest, and they're all kind of like follow all of the games. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I have one, and I think it's what you're describing, but I don't know what chest you're talking about.
Oh, well, there's like, they come in volumes, obviously, and there's like a whole set that comes in like a really cool chest. I'm sure someone out there knows. But anyway, they look like legit comic books, or like manga, which, if you don't know, manga is just like the comic books of Japan. So a series follows the events of one game, but it also kind of like fills in some of the gaps or gives some like extra backstory. I've read, I think, most of them. I think I skipped the Wind Waker one because we all know how I feel about that game. But because they're not made by Nintendo, they're considered non-canon. But one of my favorite ones is like the origins. It follows the events of Majora's Mask. It explains the origins of like the mask itself. So the manga goes like in depth about how the mask was created and how the Happy Mask Salesman gets a hold of it, which I think is just a really cool story.
That again, sounds so interesting.
So take it, with a grain of salt. Another good one that appears in the back of the, the really nice Dark Horse comics. One of them's called the Encyclopedia. One of them's called Hyrule Historia. Oh, yeah. They're red, green, and blue. They're really nice looking books. Yeah. As like concept art and all sorts of stuff. There's one printed in the back of that one. So people think maybe it's canon or Nintendo had a part in it of some sort, but it follows the events like before Skyward Sword, so it's like the first hero. It's also like super sad.
Wow.
But it's so good. It's not very long. It's only a couple pages, but it's really good. It's so sad though. Another Legend of Zelda one that I think is interesting is by Ataru Kajiba, which I don't know. It's spelled Cagiva, but then like the Japanese pronunciation is Kajiba, so Kajiba, but I don't know, it doesn't really matter. It was originally serialized in a monthly G Fantasy, which is just like a monthly manga anthology that you can get really cheap from the corner store. But do you want to guess who published it?
Marvel?
No, that'd be cool. Enix. Enix Corporation published it.
Oh, that makes sense.
So I thought that was kind of interesting. This manga was later collected in 3 volumes and released in 1995 and 1996, in Japan only, of course. These stories follow and expand upon the story in A Link to the Past. Kajiba also worked on manga for Link's Awakening. So I thought that was so interesting. I didn't know that Enix was in the manga sphere. Did you?
I think I did, yeah.
You did?
Don't they have anime from Enix?
Well, I'm sure they do, yeah.
There was something that made me... I did know this, actually, yeah.
I just thought that was cool. I had no idea. It's another... Well, this was pre the merger between Square Enix, of course, but... Yeah, I thought that was interesting. So then, another one, which I know we've mentioned on this channel before, is Super Mario-kun, which is not written or published by Nintendo at all. But it follows the events of, like, all of the Mario games, while also, again, adding some extra backstory or, like, extra events that don't actually happen in the games. The manga was serialized in a monthly manga magazine. There were 57 volumes now that follow Mario and the crew throughout, like, the series of games. So, for example, they followed Paper Mario, Super Mario 64, and even Mario Party games. They're obviously geared towards kids, so they're, like, slapstick humor and, like, childish humor, and there's even nudity. Can you believe that? I'm sure not, like, scantily clad women, but I'm sure you see Mario's butt or something. That's just funny. Childish. And to celebrate the series' 25th anniversary, Mario's Super Mario-kun design was actually added as a costume in Super Mario Maker. So, like, Nintendo recognizes that it's a thing.
Wow.
Yeah. And also, fun fact, in August 2014, the Super Mario Gun series was released on a 3DS application called Books Anywhere in Japan, so you could read manga on the go on your 3DS.
Oh, I feel like someone's told me about that before. It might have been you. That's cool.
Yeah, so Nintendo obviously just licensed out their IP so that they could write this, but they recognize that it's a thing, which I thought was interesting. Also, did you know that there was a canceled ARMS manga based off of the Switch game of the same name?
Oh, wow. No, I didn't.
So it was supposed to be published by Dark Horse Comics, which is also the one that makes the Zelda books, and Nintendo. It was written by Ian Flynn and illustrated by Joe Ng. I don't know if that's his last name or what, but that's what it said. So the first volume was revealed at New York Comic Con in 2017 with an initial release date of fall of that year. The manga was delayed and given a release date of January 2019, but then, of course, it was delayed again with no release date, so delayed indefinitely. Then productions of the first volume was confirmed to be ongoing as of February 2020, but then was officially canceled on March 11th, 2021. So this manga has been up and down and up and down, and then eventually canceled. So Dark Horse also gave a free preview of the first volume to select comic book stores during Free Comic Book Day in 2018, but then was never heard from again at all.
Wow.
Yeah, so the creator Ian Flynn said that Nintendo gave him pretty much free creative control over the IP and had little criticism of the ideas that he pitched, and it was supposed to follow a young fighter trying to reach the top of the Arms League Grand Prix, but in order to do that, he must defeat 599 contestants first. But yeah, I never saw the light of day.
Is there even a story mode in that game?
Not really, no. I wouldn't say story mode, but you can do stuff as a single player.
Wow.
That's like offline. So yeah, bummer for all those ARMS fans out there. I wonder if they canceled it because the game didn't sell very well.
I'm sure it sold well enough for an anime. I don't know. Or a manga.
Yeah, I don't know. It was weird. I wonder if there's some untold stories behind the scenes. Anyway, did you know that there's also a Metroid manga?
Yeah, I was getting ready to bring that up if you didn't bring it up. Tell me about it, though, because I don't know anything about it.
So it's a 2-part manga series that takes place from Samus's childhood up into the story of Metroid Zero Mission. So I think you can probably expand on that a little bit more. Are all the Metroid games like connected, even the 2D ones? Is it the same Samus?
Yeah. What 2 games did you say? You said Zero Mission and what?
No, it's just from childhood up until Zero Mission.
Oh, okay. Well, yes, to
So it's
answer your
like
question.
before, I guess, everything. Does Zero Mission take place first? Is that the first game?
It's a remake of the first game, yeah.
Oh. Okay, well, that's cool. So it was first printed in a monthly manga magazine called Magazine Z, before being printed on its own in 2 standalone volumes. So Volume 1 contains 7 chapters, published on November 21st of 2003. Volume 2 contains 9 chapters, published May 21st, 2004. I believe only in Japan, but I'm sure there's translations out there somewhere.
Gotta be.
So supposedly it really fleshes out, like, Samus's time before being a bounty hunter, which I think is fascinating, but also I don't think it's canon, because Nintendo didn't make it, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, that's probably still worth reading for somebody like me who loves it.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. And then, finally, did you know that there was an F-Zero manga?
Oh, we're going to talk a little bit about F-Zero later, but I will say...
Yeah.
I'm going to say no, but I will say that on the back of, like, some of the boxes, there's definitely some, like, manga cutscenes, and I thought it was just, like, their cool way of advertising the game or something, but... No, that totally adds up.
So, I guess maybe spoiler alert, because you have this topic later on. So this is a manga spin-off of the F-Zero anime, which I also did know was a thing.
Right.
It only ran for 6 issues, remains untranslated, with many of the scans of the issues being incomplete or like torn or just like messed up. The manga
Huh.
is a parody of the anime and follows characters like Captain Falcon, Ryu, I think is a character, I don't know, as children who adventure together and get into lots of trouble and cause chaos. There are also appearances by Lucy Liberty, The Skull, and James McLeod.
Wow.
Cool, huh? Also,
Yeah, it's
just
very
as like
cool.
a side note, if you look up the Wikipedia like list of Nintendo manga, they also have what's called what's it called? It's called doujinshi, which is like self-published works, which is kind of like fan fiction. So I didn't. Some of these might have been that turned published, meaning that someone just kind of made a fanfic, and then it was published because it was so popular. Totally could happen. But also on the website, there's Earthbound manga, the legendary Starfy, Star Fox, Fire Emblem, Animal Crossing, Splatoon, Pokemon, Kid Icarus, Kirby, and Golden Sun all have manga of some sort. But I'm sure
Dang.
Nintendo didn't have a part in any of those.
Yeah,
But
that
still
adds
cool
up.
nonetheless.
Very cool. We probably should have done manga and anime back to back now that I think about it.
Well,
Oh well.
it's not too late.
It is too late. We're gonna talk about toys now. Yeah. So continuing off of the board game stuff, we have from 1966 the Nintendo Ultra Hand. You can tell that they were really into the Ultra thing, and they almost
And
called the
super
N64 the Ultra 64 at one point. So
nice.
somebody had to cut them off, I guess.
Well,
No
they
more
still didn't get the
Ultra.
memo because we're still naming things Super and Ultra now.
Gunpei Yokoi's first ever toy was the Nintendo Ultra Hand. Well, I guess it's his first toy for Nintendo. I'm not going to speak for his pre-Nintendo career, but it was. This is a mechanical arm that can expand and contract by moving the scissor-like arms, much like you'd see in a cartoon. Honestly, I'm sure this is where the idea came from. This ended up
Mm-hmm.
being an incredibly popular device, but yeah. The front of the box, this is hilarious to me. Y'all should Google this, but it literally advertises two children stealing a wallet from a grown man. That's just, hey, buy this for your children.
They can be thieves.
The box included a few generic toys that you could use to practice for the big leagues of pickpocketing. So there's like little balls and little like I don't even know, just like random plastic extrusions you can practice on. Um, it actually did require some practice though. This thing is not just like open and close like scissors. There's also a red string that you have to pull to close the ultra hands of your ultra hand to actually pick something up. I would love to mess around with one of these things, honestly.
Huh. That's cool.
This is one of this might be Nintendo's very first million seller. It was in production for like 5 years and sold over a million. Very popular.
Wow. Well, that's one of the ones that was successful then.
Yeah, for sure. Now this is super funny. I kid you not. When it released in Australia, the box advertised those same two little hoodlum kids, but instead of stealing a wallet from a businessman, they're laughing as they steal a baby kangaroo from its mother's pouch.
Oh no! Oh man, not a baby kangaroo. That's the
Literally,
most Australian thing I've ever heard of in my entire life.
I don't know what they were thinking. It's
Whose
tragic,
decision was
truly.
that?
Google that too if you're listening to this. But fun fact: this thing made an appearance. Not an appearance, like not a cameo, but a full-on like appearance in the WiiWare game that was exclusive to Japanese Club Nintendo members called Grill Off with Ultra Hand. And you're literally grilling with this freaking Ultra Hand, which is your Wii Remote nunchuck in this scenario. But holy crap, it like got itself into a game in like 2011. How awesome is that?
Wow. Why grill? Wha Who made that choice?
It was either that or baby kangaroos, I guess.
Nice.
um, yeah, that's the Ultra Hand. Inspiring pickpocketers all across the country.
Stealing baby kangaroos.
Next up is the Nintendo block, aka N and B block. I had no idea, but in 1968, Nintendo totally directly ripped off Lego. They tried to sue Nintendo about this, Lego did, but ended up losing the case. They must not be too mad about it. They must not be too upset about it because considering how many Lego games there are on Switch consoles and all Nintendo consoles now, and not to mention all the Mario themed Lego sets, guess they buried the hatchet. But essentially, the dimensions were identical to Legos, so you could literally stack N and B blocks on your Legos if you wanted to, which is just so petty, I feel like. According to the Before Mario blog, Nintendo didn't have like quite as tight of tolerances on their manufacturing lines, so their bricks would be way more difficult to pull apart than Legos. So that's a +1 for Lego.
Nice.
But the key difference from N and B blocks was the addition of round pieces. They weren't afraid to advertise it either. Like they had TV commercials comparing it to Legos directly and being like there was a commercial of a kid sad because he didn't have round Lego pieces that he was playing with, and the kid next to him was super happy.
That's so funny.
Yeah. So there were a ton of different sets. I'm not going to go through them all. The final set was released in 1972. It was the Panda set. The last level, this is the coolest crap ever, and super relevant because I just played this game, but the very last level, the last level of the Mario Zone in Super Mario Land 2 on Game Boy is completely made out of N and B blocks that say N and B on them.
Oh, that is so cool.
I probably saw N and B in this game and had no idea what the heck that meant, and that is so cool. I love it.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool that Nintendo just brings all of this like other stuff. I mean, who would have thought of that? Yeah, let's make this level out of N and B blocks that we made 1,000 gajillion years ago that no one absolutely knows about.
It's so cool. I love it.
That's awesome.
We have a little bit more of that with this next one, the Love Tester from 1969. This thing...
Ooh.
This thing tests how much two individuals love each other. It was also created by Gunpei Yokoi, who obviously did the Game Boy. We already talked about that. This is a battery-operated device that had two sensors on it. You would hold a person's hand with one hand and hold the sensor in your palm with the other hand. There was a meter that would display the strength of love ability between the two individuals. Basically just a love score from 1 to 100. Apparently, what it really does is measures the conductivity between two people. I didn't even care enough to look into whether or not that is like a scientific thing or just some hype words thrown together.
Definitely not.
The instructions say it is for entertainment purposes only, and then proceed to say, secret, if you want the needle to really climb, moisten palm before holding terminal. Oh, yeah.
Super scientific.
Secret. In all caps, it said secret. The West received it as a love/lie detector, which seems very negative, but I guess the lie detector portion was basically just to promote the fact that if you got a low score, then it meant you didn't really love each other.
Oh no. I wonder how many couples broke up because of their low score.
Entertainment purposes only. Later, it got released in 2010. It got re-released in Japan by a company called Tenyo, and it wasn't like this thing where Tenyo copied it and just tried to sell it as their own. It was like this thing was featuring the original packaging and it was fully endorsed by Nintendo. So very, very cool.
Huh. Wow. Wired resurgence in 2010.
I know, right?
It's odd.
This thing makes an appearance in several games as Easter eggs or as collectibles, like in Majora's Mask on 3DS and also in Animal Crossing New Leaf.
Ooh, where?
That I did not write down. Forgive me.
Dang it.
There's also like another game that had this. I don't even know if it was a WarioWare game or something, but the what is this called? The love detector, love tester is like an actual character that like the arms and legs are like the sensors of the love tester. So I don't remember which game that is, but this thing makes an appearance in several games.
That's awesome. That's so cool.
I love that crap. Next up, we have 1971's Light Telephone, also from Gunpei Yokoi. This thing, super interesting again. Two camcorder-looking devices come in a box, and you have two pairs of headsets. You grab a friend, you plug the headsets into the devices, and you go stand far away from one another, and you point them directly at each other, and then you just start talking. And somehow the microphone on this device picks up your voice, and similar to walkie-talkies, you can hear each other. Except this is way cooler than walkie-talkies and way more inconvenient.
Yeah, but it was made by Nintendo, so come on.
They said it was, or I guess before Mario Blog said that this was kind of like a something sold to adults. It wasn't like advertised for kids. It was kind of pricey and like it was more of a novelty thing. But each handheld device had a telescope, so you could accurately aim it at one another. And the way that the technology works, I'm going to read this directly from the Before Mario blog. I'm not going to try to understand this on my own. The sound picked up by the microphone is coded into the transmitted light and decoded again by the receiving party's light telephone using a light-dependent resistor and played over the headphones. I think that's pretty neat. Pretty neat.
I don't know what that means, but that's cool.
It's like freaking audio transmitted to light and then transmitted back to audio. I don't know how that crap works, but good job, Gunpei.
That's way too complicated for me, but awesome, dude.
The following year, we had the Lefty RX, and this is going to sound very familiar because these are remote control cars that could only go left. Does that ring a bell? They were... You could literally go forward and go left. That's it. This allowed them to provide an RC car that was a quarter of the cost of the competition. So by not having the ability to turn right, they basically had like a car with when it wasn't, no, I'm not even going to try to explain it, but it was super cheap to make this for sure. It came with a rechargeable.
Cut the costs in half, right?
It came with a rechargeable battery that could be plugged into the included docking station. Very cool. There was a dial on the charging station that would tick for 3 minutes, much like a cooking timer, and it would ding when the time was up to let you know that the car was charged. First of all, crazy that would be the way you charge something, and also crazy that it took 3 minutes to fully charge your RC car, so that's neat.
Well, also that it lets you know audibly that it's ready.
Yeah, we don't even have that today.
No.
The car included was like an American muscle car with rubber tires and antennas sticking out of the back. You could get it in red, yellow, or blue. And there was a Lefty RX double set and a triple set. Just came with more cars, more docking stations. And I can't imagine why, but you could buy more charging stations as if it didn't take 3 minutes to fully charge the car. And ended up being pretty successful for Nintendo. It would come out they would come out with the RX prototype and the RX GT Sport models as well. So these were in production for a handful of years.
Did any of them end up turning right, or is it only left only?
Left, the Lefty RX prototype and the Lefty RX GT Sport, Hannah. You can't. There
Oh,
was no
man.
righty. There was no non-lefty. That's it.
Dang it. I thought maybe if they were successful, they'd, make another one that can turn right. But dang,
Yeah.
only left.
That's it for toys, though. I'm done talking for at least a few minutes. What do you got for us?
Okay, well, on the topic of toys, but we're going more into modern toys. So I did a little bit of research. So it appears that all the Nintendo's toys, the ones that you see like on the shelf at Target or Walmart or whatever, are not made internally by Nintendo. But it's like products and partnerships Nintendo has made with like other toy making companies. So like I mentioned this earlier, but Jakks Pacific makes a lot of the World of Nintendo toys or like the Super Mario toys. So that's like play sets, the Mario Kart toys, RC cars, costumes, plushies. They are in charge of like everything that you see on store shelves. But instead of Mario, they also make Mario Kart, Zelda, Pikmin, Animal Crossing, Star Fox, and Metroid. And then recently you mentioned them, but Nintendo also just made deals with like Lego for their Mario and Luigi and Peach sets with like I don't know, is it digital eyes that they have that kind of sets them apart? But yeah, they're like the really chunky Mario and the really chunky Peach that have eyes
Yeah.
that kind of are interactive and move. So none of those are being made in-house. But what Nintendo does make in-house is just a thing that I think I've mentioned here once or twice before, but Amiibo.
Oh, yeah.
So, it's a Toys to Life platform by Nintendo, launched in November of 2014. The Amiibo themselves consist of a wireless communications and storage protocol for connecting figures to compatible hardwares. That means you put your Amiibo on the thing, and using this thing called near field communication, it interacts with your consoles. It also allows data to be transferred in and out of games and across platforms. So the Amiibo platform was pre-announced to potentially accommodate any form of toy, but they specifically were going to integrate it using like card games. But obviously that never ended up happening. Also, NFC is the same kind of technology you use with Apple Pay. So like you put it within I think it said 4 centimeters is the max of like whatever the scanner is, and then you could read and write data, which is super cool. It's compatible with the OG 3DS. If you have the NFC reader adapter kind of thing, your Wii U, your new 3DS, and your Switch. Amiibo were, and still kind of are, heavily marketed for like Super Smash Bros. Games. So what was really cool is they marketed it as like you could buy this Amiibo and you could scan it using the Super Mario Bros. Like screen or whatever, and you could compete with your friends to see whose Amiibo was stronger. So like you scan it in, it basically creates a CPU fighter in the game, and the more you play against it or play with the CPU, like the more it learns and it gets stronger. And then you could take it out of your game, transfer it back onto the Amiibo, and then go to your friend's house and then scan it into their game, and then you could compete to see whose Amiibo was stronger. Did you know
Yeah,
that?
I used to think that would be. Yeah, I knew that. I used to think it would be like a fun and awesome thing, but it's not. I mean, the idea was awesome, and I think Amiibo themselves, the freaking design and the, I don't know, the art that they are, like, they're gorgeous, and I love them for that. But like, all the years that we've been using them in games is like, there's really nothing life changing about like what they bring to the games. Um, but yeah, like when you fill a room with walls of these things like you have, they are so nice. I love it.
I agree. They could probably have just made them figures and not marketed this way, but I don't know. I think that maybe is what started the craze at the beginning, but then, like you said, Amiibo have kind of morphed into something else. The only thing they really do in games now is like unlock costumes or like weird random cosmetics for the game, or like drop
Yeah.
items or just small things like that. But they do look very nice. But as of September 2022, total sales reached 77 million toys sold. That is
Man.
crazy profit margins. I'm sure. Even if they were only making $1 profit, that's still 77 million. But I assume it doesn't take more than a couple dollars to make it. So that's just money in the bank. That's why they keep making them.
Yeah.
So the next one we have is Toko Toko Mario. So this is a Mario toy created in-house by the Nintendo development team. There are two different versions of the toy. Both feature a walking Mario with no batteries required. So in the Nintendo Direct trailer that they announced, focusing on Super Nintendo World, Miyamoto was like super excited to show off this toy, and it's a toy. I think it's only sold at Super Mario or Super Nintendo World, so I think you can only get it there. But there's two kinds. There's a warp pipe Mario, and there's also Mario with like a red shell attached to him. So
Dang.
both Marios have like a little rectangular hole in their back that you hook a clear like, I don't know, L-shaped piece into it, and if you push the L-shaped piece, it seems like Mario is actually walking. Like you don't have to move his legs move by themselves. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
No.
Okay, well, the red shell one is attached. It's always attached by the clear piece, and you just push, like if you're sitting on a flat surface, Mario is standing there, and then the clear piece, and then the shell, and then you push the shell along, and Mario like actually walks, like he moves his legs. It's incredible. So they kind of hide the walking mechanism. He's wearing like cloth overalls, so it's like his legs are like really like they're not obstructed by like hard plastic pieces, so it really gives the illusion like he's walking. It's really cool.
Gotcha.
He's also holding a flag in his hand, and on one side it's got like the signature M, and on the other side it's got the logo for Super Nintendo World. And then the warp pipe one, which I think is super cool, is just basically Mario coming out of the warp pipe, and he kind of sits on a little stand, and you can take him out and walk him if you want to, but he sits in there, and then it's got like the big logo Super Nintendo World on the front. It looks really cool. And the toy itself is like super detailed. It's not necessarily small. It's probably the size of, I don't know, like an iPhone or something. But it's really interesting, and it was developed in-house. So that's one of the only really things that I could find in-house that's not related to video games. Like obviously they make Labo in-house and stuff too, but that's obviously associated with video games. But yeah, that's all I got for toys.
I always think about the freaking toys that you have that like someone brought you back from some continent on the earth. Like you have some pretty cool old Mario toys.
Oh yeah, okay. There's also stuff like McDonald's toys and stuff like that.
Right, you can't cover
yeah.
everything.
Yeah, but I don't think Nintendo's actually making those toys. Obviously, they license it out other people to make. But yeah, super cool.
I've always loved the Jack specific stuff. I mean, I love the amiibos too. I probably have like 10 of them, but I guess I've just decided I can't collect everything. And holy crap! Oh, you got me that freaking Metroid statue for Christmas, man. That thing, I don't even. Is that Diamond Selects? Who is that?
Oh, I think it's Jack Specifics.
I think you might be right. Yeah.
Because I believe it's a World Nintendo toy. And that's one of their bigger ones too.
It's a
like,
big
normally
boy.
Toys you see are like fit in your hands, but this one's big. I thought it was so cool.
Heck yeah. It will be displayed as soon as I get this new furniture up in the game room.
Heck yeah. I mean, it's pretty detailed looking, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of squishy to go with the...
Squishy.
So I guess y'all don't know what I'm talking about if you're listening. It's a Metroid. It's literally a Metroid statue, and it's squishy, and it's large, and it's in charge. And I love it.
Glad you like it.
Take us into Nintendo's patents.
Man, that's me again? Okay, so all of these kind of follow... well, most of these kind of follow the same... You'll see what I'm talking about when I talk about it, but Nintendo had the same thing in mind, and then they just, like, never released any of these things. So the first one is the Wii Vitality Sensor. This device itself was revealed at E3 2009 by Iwata himself, but no software was announced with it, so it was just kind of like shown off. And I think this thing made it pretty far in production because they have like actual pictures of it out in the wild, but obviously it never sold. Iwata said the sensor in games would be shown off later at E3 in 2010, but again it wasn't even mentioned. Rumor says that Nintendo didn't reveal it at E3 because Ubisoft revealed a similar product the night before at their own press conference. So Nintendo was like, nah, maybe not. Many years later, without any news of anything. July 5th, 2013, it had been officially confirmed that it had been canceled due to testing issues. So apparently the sensor worked on 90 out of 100 of the people that they tested it on, but Iwata said that wasn't good enough. He wanted it to work 100% of the time, so they ended up not moving forward with it. So the sensor attached to the bottom of the Wii remote, like a nunchuck, into the little port in the bottom, and then it was basically like, those monitors that they put on your finger in like the hospital to test like your heart rate or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm talking about? It's like a sensor.
Yeah.
You literally just put your finger in it, and that's it. You just put your finger in it, and I guess it's supposed to measure your heart rate. The patent didn't really say exactly what it was supposed to do. So it was supposed to be implemented into the games, but like I said, they didn't really show off any software, so there's like only speculation. So my thoughts were maybe they were going to use it for like the fitness aspect, kind of like the Wii Fit board, whatever. Like you measure your heart rate and then somehow calculate how many calories you burn during a workout or something like that. Which is like what your Apple Watch does. Or maybe test your heart rate in a game, and if it goes too high, like maybe turn the game off, or they're like, hey, something's not right.
I can also see that. That Wii Sports Tennis gets pretty heated.
Yeah, it does. Or like, those horror games that you see in Dave & Buster's where you have to like put your hand on the bar, kind of like the treadmill thing where it measures your heart rate. Mm-hmm. Something like that. Have it implemented, like if your heart rate goes too high or it spikes too high, like you like lose points or whatever. Or something like that,
Just a quick side tangent, but the what is that game called? Ring Fit Adventure. Whenever you finish a level, it asks you to put your thumb on the IR sensor of the Joy-Con, and it does just that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Cool. So something like that. But I don't really know how that would be implemented into like gameplay exactly. Unless it was something like Ring Fit Adventure where it calculates, you get so many points, you got your heart rate at this level, blah, 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 blah. Something like that.
Yeah.
So that's interesting, but it's actually a thing. It's out there. So another thing, kind of on the same kind of health benefit thing, is the quality of life invention. Not sure exactly when this was announced or leaked, but the article I read was published 8 years ago, so quite a while ago. The thing itself is called the quality of life sensor. It's a product that you sit like on your nightstand next to you while you're sleeping, or like wherever next to you, and it tracks your sleeping habits at night. So a quote by Iwata says, "Fatigue and sleep are themes that are rather hard to visualize in more objective ways. At Nintendo, we believe that if we visualize them, there would be great potential for many people, regardless of age, gender, language, or culture." So this dude was really interested in like sleep and like quality of life improvements. So the device would track you in your sleep and then I guess give suggestions on how to make your sleep better. Like it would calculate how many times you tossed and turned, if there was like a heart rate spike or something like that. So Nintendo was partnering with ResMed, which is like a medical equipment company that does like CPAP machines and like nebulizers and just the equipment like that for the product. But apparently ResMed came out with their own device that was pretty much exactly the same thing but hooked up to like a smartphone via Bluetooth. So I guess Nintendo ended up not going through with it. Nintendo said that their ability to gamify anything, in quotes, would be the real reason people would adopt their product over others.
Yeah,
so obviously that never came out. Again, along the same lines is a sleep monitor. Not sure if this is like a predecessor to the quality of life sensor or if this was always meant to be the final product. I don't know dates. So this patent shows some kind of separate device. Looks like a smartphone, but it doesn't specify in the patent. Docked in some kind of like cheapy 90s, 2000s iHome-esque kind of dock. You know what I'm talking about? Those cheapy ones that you put your iPod in.
The iHome? Heck yeah, I do.
So yeah, the dock has a mic, speakers, and a built-in projector, which will project images on the ceiling above your bed. The patent suggests that the device can detect a user's emotions and collects data using the mic and the camera on whatever the device is docked, assume a smartphone. The device will collect your body temperature, pulse rate, and other health-related data, which will be sent to the cloud and you'll receive a sleep score. So, doesn't say what you're going to do with that sleep score, like, oh, you had a good night's sleep, here's some coins to spend in our storefront. or like if there's an app associated with it and you get more points the better you sleep, so you can like change the images to like Mario or something floating on your wall. I don't know. The whole thing is just weird.
But it's so them, you know. You have like things like that with the Wii Fit, the Wii Fit board. You have things like that with just the way Street Pass worked on the 3DS. I've talked about that in the past, but you know what just came to my head is the
But
freaking, speaking of Nintendo and sleep, is like, holy crap, I hated waking up in the middle of the night to my Wii just beaming a blue light because I had a freaking email from Nintendo.
that's funny.
Anyways, carry on.
Ugh, that's awesome. So this doesn't have anything to do with Nintendo, I don't think, but it's kind of along the same premise. So Game Freak went and announced something called Pokemon Sleep. I don't know if you remember that.
Nah.
Okay, so anyway, I think they announced it in like a Pokemon Direct or something crazy. Anyway, it's an app for your mobile phone called Pokemon Sleep that was announced. I don't know how long ago. I don't really know dates. But anyway, it's very similar to like the sleep tracking monitors that Nintendo was proposing. This would be compatible with the Pokemon Go accessory, which is the one that looks like a Pokeball and you wear around your wrist. And I guess it's going to track your sleep stats and will communicate with your phone via Bluetooth and allow you to, I don't know, do some kind of sleep-related gameplay. I'm not quite sure how Pokemon kind of rolls into that, but weird. I don't know if that's...
What's really happening is they're tapping Morse code into your wrist and saying "I love Pokemon" over and over for your entire 8 hours.
Buy Pokemon cards. Buy Pokemon games. I don't know, it's so weird. But yeah, the final thing we have is not health related at all, but I thought was just freaking wild. It's a Nintendo cell phone. So imagine this.
What?
It looks like a crossover between one of them. It's not a foldable phone, but you know the really old phones that kind of look like you're holding like a freaking toaster up to your head, the giant freaking clunkers. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
It's like a mix between that and a Game Boy. So it's got an antenna, it's got a very small screen, and it's got a D-pad right under the screen to the left. And then to the right are like your A and B buttons, as you would see on a Game Boy. And then, of course, below that is a regular number pad, as you would have on a phone. The only picture that I saw shows like a background of the Super Mario Bros, like, you know, classic NES gameplay, whatever, with a text saying incoming call and then a phone number. So I don't know if you could play Nintendo games on the phone or if it was just like a background thing. I don't know what they were planning for that. But yeah, that's the thing. It's a real patent. Then Nintendo was like, yep, we're getting into the phone business.
D-pad seems like a clear indicator that there would be some kind of games available.
Yeah, but like, I don't know the year that this was announced, so was it like just NES games? Was it like Game Boy games? I'm not sure.
Screw the Nokia N-Gage. I'm sure that would have been popular.
I'm sure there was some Snake on it. Maybe some Tetris. I don't know. But yeah, that's all I got for patents. I'm sure there's tons out there. Nintendo has... How many... We looked at this. There was like thousands.
It was like endless,
tens of thousands of patents out there. It's crazy. But that's all the ones I cared to look at.
Good stuff. Let's talk about... Oh, did you research this next one? Are we skipping that?
I did do that one, but that's kind of in my other category.
Okay, we'll save it. We're going to move into TV, movies, shows, anime, all of that. I honestly, I'm going to be real with y'all. I did so much freaking research on toys and board games that I'm going to keep this section kind of light. I'm going to brush over some of these. There's one that blew my mind. But yeah, let's just get into it. Animated shows and or movies. We have Super Mario Bros. The Great Mission to Rescue Princess Peach! From 1986. This was a Japanese exclusive VHS. Yeah, not much to say about that. Then everyone knows the Super Mario Brothers Super Show from 1989. There was The Adventures. Yeah. Heck yeah. The Adventures of Super Mario Brothers 3, and then followed up by Super Mario World. These three shows, so many memes have come out of them. I love to just... I love the memes so much. Yeah. But this next one, also from 1989, Captain N, the Game Master. Just before I even get into it, have you heard of this?
No, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Exactly. That I just found that about. I just found out about this today. Captain N is like written in the typical red and white oval that you would see Nintendo's logo in, and it's Captain N, the Game Master. This is a TV show from 1989 to 1993. I'm gonna read you the premise from Nintendo Fandom Wiki real quick. The hero
Okay.
of the series, Kevin Keene, a teenager from Northridge, California, and his dog Duke are summoned to another universe known as Videoland by being sucked into a vortex that formed in his television, called the Ultimate Warp Zone. In order to fulfill the ancient prophecy, Kevin is to become the hero of Captain N, the Game Master, and save Videoland from evil forces led by Mother Brain, the chief enemy in Metroid, who has almost succeeded in capturing the Palace of Power and conquering all Videoland. What in the world?
Oh my gosh.
First of all, why is
Oh
Mother
man.
Brain involved? Mother Brain, of all the characters that they could have put, I am shook right now. So this dude Kevin, he's got an NES zapper because of course he does. He's got a belt buckle shaped like an NES controller, and
Oh heck yeah, dude. That's the coolest part.
I just don't understand how I've never heard of this. It has features. It features so many characters from the biggest games of the era. There's Castlevania's Simon Belmont. There's Pit and the Eggplant
What?
Wizard from Kid Icarus. There's freaking Mega Man, Dr. Light, and Dr. Wily. There's Link, Ganon, and Zelda. And then, of course, freaking Mother Brain.
Whoa.
Mega Man is like this fat child wearing a green costume for some reason instead of blue. Y'all should look up Mega Man from Captain N. It's pretty hilarious. Um,
It's awesome.
and then there's like a Mike Tyson's person in there, Mike Tyson's Punch Out person in there. I'm like, what in the world is this freaking game? Um, so that's what I looked up, and that's what blew my mind today. This apparently ran for 4 years, and I've never heard of it. This is crazy to me.
Wow.
I
No,
might
I've
have to
never
go
heard of
watch
that
it though.
either.
I don't. It's probably not streaming anywhere. It's
Yeah, I
probably
was
like
about to
you
say
have to
what?
buy the VHS. Like,
It's probably on YouTube somewhere. It's gotta be somewhere.
Captain N, the Game Master. Everyone check it out.
That's awesome.
Moving on. Hannah mentioned F-Zero. F-Zero GP Legend is a 51 episode anime tied in with the Game Boy Advance game of the same name. Nintendo was really pushing F-Zero in this time period because they had the GameCube game and they had the arcade game that were totally linked together. They have this F-Zero GP Legend with the game, the anime, and the manga. Like, I don't know what happened to F-Zero, but that Captain Falcon is just dead. Kirby, right back at you. 2001 show. It used to premiere, like, anyone around our age used to watch like 4Kids and stuff. I'm pretty sure it was the same channel.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And
Saturday morning, baby.
but you didn't see this show as a kid, right?
I don't think so, no.
I definitely never heard of it. But I have a VHS. It's like a fun fact I always like to bring up. I found a VHS of it at Goodwill one time, so that's a random thing I have. And it was produced by Satoru Iwata, so that's cool as well.
Oh, that's cool.
This one was like 3 years long, and it ended with a movie, so that was, pretty cool.
Wow.
Then we had a Fire Emblem anime. This was a whopping 2 episodes before it got canceled, and
No.
so yeah, I'm like looking this up, and I'm looking at the screenshots, and I'm like, wow, I really like this artwork, this freaking 90s anime. I always like how it looks, and I'm like, this might be something I actually get to watch since I've never played Fire Emblem in my life. No, 2 episodes. Probably haven't even been translated.
Aw.
It's just, that's really sad, but it was
That's
based
really
on
funny
the
because
Go ahead.
I looked up the Fire Emblem manga. I mentioned it earlier, but it has also like 6 issues and then was canceled. So it's like none of the avenues did very well.
It was based on the third game, Fire Emblem Mystery of the Emblem. So rest in peace. You know what's funny? I think on the internet it says like 1995 dash, and then it's just close parentheses, like it's still ongoing. It was never officially canceled.
Oh, that's funny.
The Legend of Zelda had a TV show. There's a lot of memes coming out of that one too. There was
Oh
about
yeah.
1,000 Pokemon shows and movies. I'm sure you guys have heard of Pokemon. There is Donkey Kong Country, the most memeable TV show to ever exist. I I have another. You know what? This is another VHS I scored at Goodwill. Um, I don't know how this VHS ties in with the show. Like, it's a movie for sure, but um, yeah, I guess there is a show and a movie for Donkey Kong Country.
Huh.
And then a less funny and more interesting one, Animal Crossing the movie from 2006. This one kind of got really popular a few years ago again. Like, it was like people were talking about it and sharing it on social media, but this originally made 1.7 billion yen at the box office, roughly like 16 million US dollars. This thing,
Whoa.
I don't know anything about it. It like follows the life of freaking a villager, and Tom Nook himself is in there. Um, yeah, I think this one has been translated. I think people can watch it in English, at least subtitles. So I might check that one out. That's pretty cool.
That's cool. I didn't know that either.
As far as live action goes, we all know about the Super Mario Brothers movie from 1993. I always think about Goomba and how he's like a full-on human being.
The only Super Mario movie we should be talking about.
And then, of course, 2023, we have the Super Mario Brothers movie airing in. I didn't even look it up. Is it May?
That's a good old question. I don't know.
Oh gosh, Super Mario movie 2023 release April 7th. So we got that coming up in a couple months from Illumination and Nintendo and Universal Pictures and Chris Pratt and all that. Yeah, I don't need to talk anymore about that movie, but that's going to be a great movie, no doubt about it. It's coming out freaking 30 years after the original Mario Brothers movie.
And hopefully it's better.
But no guarantees. Yeah, so that's it for movies and TV shows, and I probably missed a couple, but I think that is pretty much it for that.
You know what would have been a good question to ask people on Instagram, which you could totally, if you're watching on YouTube, comment below. What do you think the plot of the Mario movie is going to be? Because we
Let
haven't
us
really
know.
seen that much about the plot. It just looks like a giant epic adventure. You
That's
know?
enough for me, but yeah, you're right.
That'd have been a good question. But yeah, anyway, this episode should be titled, "Oh my gosh, I didn't know that." Nintendo trivia. Or something like that. Alright.
I don't know
So
what we're going to
next
call
up,
this episode.
oh my gosh, I didn't know that. It's a perfect title. Nintendo Edition. So the next thing we have is Japan exclusive restaurants and cafes. So the only thing that I could find that I think I could totally be wrong is like Nintendo has a tie-in at least a little bit, is a thing called the Kirby Cafe. So it's an official real-life chain of small pop-up restaurants in Japan. Currently, I looked on their website, there's 3 locations. There's Tokyo, Nagoya, and Hakata. So I think some of the locations like opened and then closed because of COVID and then like moved around. But as far as I know, the current information is that there's 3 of them. One of them closed and then moved, but people think that maybe Nintendo might have closed one of the locations because they wanted to open like a similar experience at Super Mario or Super Nintendo World. I don't know why I keep calling it Super Mario World. Super Nintendo World. So yeah, they might have closed it because they wanted some kind of experience there, but I don't know. There's three things open right now. The first location opened on August 5th of 2016, so it's been around for a while. They serve everything from like Kirby hamburgers with like a pink bun and it looks like Kirby's face, to rice and curry, and the rice being in the shape of like a little Waddle Dee. There's cups of maximum tomato soup, which I think is fun, with like the signature M in the middle. All the food is Kirby themed, and there are so many dishes to choose from. I just mentioned a few. There's also Kirby themed drinks, non-alcoholic and alcoholic, and desserts, and all sorts of straws that are Kirby themed, or like Wispy Woods figures that you also get on your plate. I think it's edible. I think it's probably like made out of chocolate or something. But they also play Kirby music in the restaurants, of course, because what else are they going to play? And they all sell some kind of like Kirby merch. There's like washcloths or like neck pillows or like tote bags, t-shirts, purses, pins, magnets, you name it. But as far as I know, Nintendo has some part in it. But all the other stuff I looked up is just kind of like, I don't know what Japan's like IP, copyright, blah, 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 blah is. But as far as I can tell, they're all like licensed out. If there is any official Nintendo stuff that you know, definitely comment. But I think that's it.
Yeah, that sounds freaking incredible. I want to try everything at that restaurant.
And I looked up some reviews. Some people say, it's like a cheesy kind of food or whatever. But the menu made it look really good.
You're not going there for the food. You're going for the atmosphere.
Yeah, you're going for the experience and all the cool Kirby stuff you could buy. So you want me to go into like pop-ups and stuff?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so some of the other stuff that I have is like Nintendo pop-up shops and events. So like every year around Christmas, Nintendo has like official pop-up stores that pop up around the US called the Wish List Wonderland. And some of the places they have them is Phoenix, Arizona, Orlando, Boston, New York, Los Angeles, California, Atlanta, Georgia, Chicago, Houston. Did you know that?
Dude, I didn't know about any of this.
Dallas, Seattle, Washington. I didn't know they had in Orlando. That's not that far away from where I live, so I had no idea. But yeah, they're pop-up shops. They offer, like, obviously games, merch, whatever else you could possibly want on your wish list for Christmas.
That's every year?
I looked on the website, and I think this one was from last year, but I could be wrong. I don't know if COVID maybe stopped them from doing it for a while. I don't know. But as far as it's still on their website. So, this is from their official website. So we'll see if they have it this year. As far as that, Japan always gets like cool pop-up shops and stuff, but Nintendo has pop-up events in Japan all the time. The latest one I could find was 3 locations during September and October of last year, and like various shopping plazas and stuff. They were selling Nintendo goods that were only previously available at Nintendo's Shibuya location, and they also had the Splatoon 3 lottery, which was taking place at 7-Eleven locations, so they also had that there. So I just looked into the lottery because I was kind of curious, because I thought, lottery means money. No. Lottery in this case just means like cool merch and stuff that you can get. You purchase tickets at like a 7-Eleven and you're entered to win cool Splatoon 3 related merch, like shirts, plushies, metal Splatoon tumblers, which I thought were really cool, shirts, soap dispensers, if you're into that, and blankets, alarm clocks, all kinds of stuff.
If you're into that.
Yeah, if you're into that, I don't know, alarm clocks, soap dispensers. But yeah, that's also really cool. The other thing that I saw, well, actually I have experience with it, but it's the Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Tailgate Tour. I think I've talked about that before. But it was basically a giant trailer that Nintendo, like, took across the country, the US, of course, to college football games to promote Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. I think it was 2018. Because that game came out in December of 2018, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really cool. So it showed up. It showed up at, like, I don't know if they're considered big at the time. I don't remember where the standings were. But at big college football games, and they happened to come to my school. And so the Friday before the game or whatever, because games are on Saturday, they kind of closed the downtown area off, and they parked this giant trailer. And it had, in the trailer, you could go in from, like, the far, well, one of the corners, whatever, and there's like 5 or 6 big screens where you could play the demo of the game as many times as you want. You could go through as many times as you want, and every time you went through, you got a lanyard like a black lanyard that said Super Smash Brothers. And there was 4 players, so you're playing with random people, and you could play you could pick any character that you wanted. It was like the full game, pretty much. And then outside, there was like, you could stand outside and like spectate people's games, and on a giant, huge screen. It was so cool. It was such a fun experience, and it just happened to be at my school one year.
Yeah, I remember you sent me like a
so much
lanyard.
fun.
I mean, that was so awesome.
Yeah, and
I feel like
I remember. Good.
I was gonna say, I feel like it's only like 6 schools that they went to or something like that. It was a very small number.
I think it was a little bit more than that, but yeah, they ended up going to my school, which was just great. I thought that they weren't at first because it was a Clemson FSU game. It was October 27th, I believe. If I looked that up correctly. I didn't write the date down. But it was so much fun. And then again, of course, they had it right outside the stadium on that Saturday. And so me and my friend went again. And we got some more lanyards and we got to watch some more people. There was also, I don't think it was sponsored by Nintendo, but there was another kind of video game trailer where we could play 1-2 Switch and all sorts of other Switch games. But I'm not sure if that was sponsored by them or not. But the fact that they took this thing around the country just to promote this game was so cool.
Yeah.
And I got to do it. It was right, it was like, I don't want to say specifics, but it was very close to where I live. But it was so much fun.
Yeah.
Me and my friend had so much fun that day. But I think that's all I got. The other stuff is kind of other.
Oh, okay. Are we moving into the theme part? Yeah.
Yes, sir. So this was the, I guess, main inspiration. Well, I guess the Mario movie is also coming up, but we kind of wanted to do some current events that Nintendo's doing. So we talked about this a little bit, but did you know that Nintendo's opening up a theme park?
I did.
A whole ass theme park, partnered with Universal Studios. So there's already one open in Universal Studios Japan, and Hollywood, I think, has its hard opening soon, like its grand opening. I know it had its soft opening. And they also have plans to open in Singapore, in Orlando, which is my backyard. I can't wait. So obviously COVID kind of delayed the opening and the closing and the opening and the closing, whatever. I have an excerpt from frickin' Wikipedia, and it is so tragic. How many times it opened and then closed? I'll read it here in a second. But Nintendo entered into a $351 million agreement with Universal Studios in May of 2015 to create a theme park around Nintendo's IPs in Osaka, Japan. There were several videos kind of revealing the art and like concept images since like 2015. And in 2016, a lot of pictures leaked and people were like so excited about it. There was like leaked drone footage of construction areas. So they've been working on this for a long time. I think the Orlando location was supposed to be open by this year, but obviously COVID kind of delayed it a lot. So the park is mainly themed after the Mario franchise, with Miyamoto having like huge influence on the designs of the park, which I think is just awesome. So like all the little details and little Easter eggs and whatever, he like put those in there, which I think is so freaking fun. Let's see. The park's initial opening was planned to be just before the Tokyo 2020 Olympics, which would lined up so perfectly because everyone from around the world would have been there. They would have made so much money, dude.
Oh yeah.
But of course, we all know how that went. And on December 18th of 2020, there was a Super Mario World Direct where Miyamoto, I talked about this earlier, kind of walked around the park, showed off some of the merch that you could get, and he was like, he was so excited. He was like a kid in a candy store. It was so cool to see him like actually be able to present something that he's been working on for so long. On December 26th of 2020, there was a soft opening, which was limited to like the annual pass holders or like stockholders or like all the people, like the special people, you know, the people that pay lots of money to be there. On November 30th, 2020, Universal officially announced that the park would open on February 4th of 2021. However, in January, the opening was once again delayed indefinitely after the Japanese government reimposed a state of emergency in response to the third wave of COVID infections in the city. However, guests with the Universal Studios Japan annual pass were allowed to visit the area as of February 4th. It eventually opened to the public on March 18th of 2021. A month later, though, the entirety of Universal Studios Japan closed from April 25th to June 7th, 2021 due to COVID-19. So it's open, close, and like, yeah, it's going to be open, and then a month later it was shut. So definitely lots of delays and unfortunate mishaps for Super Nintendo World in Japan. But it is, I think, officially open at this point, and you can go at your leisure. The location in Hollywood will have its grand opening for everyone February 17th, and that's very soon. And the locations in Singapore and Orlando will open, hopefully, sometime 2025. So we still have 2 more years to wait.
Yeah, I didn't even know
So
there was going to be a
sad.
Hollywood one until we started doing episode notes here. So that's pretty nuts.
So it's already had its soft opening, so we'll see it open actually soon. And then I didn't want to look at like any of the footage or like anything because when I go in 2 years from now, I want to be surprised at what there is. But there's like, of course, obviously, everything is themed off Nintendo. So there's like Nintendo, like Mario restaurants, stuff with like Mario food, inspired foods and drinks. And there's also a Mario Kart ride, which I think is like the biggest ride there. They also announced the Power Bands, which is something that you can get at Disney. It's like a band that has like your ticket. I think you can also store like money and stuff in it. It's like you know what I'm talking about?
Like at Dave & Buster's?
Yeah, kind of, but it's like a band that goes around your wrist. Anyway, you can use it to do like interactive games around the park. There's like little NFC readers or whatever, and like a Goomba will shoot out of a pipe, or like Mario will walk across something, or just fun interactive things all around the park. There's also a ride themed after Yoshi in some of his series, and there's also Yoshi-themed food shacks. It looks like the Hollywood location doesn't have as much as Japan's locations do, but I don't know if that's just because it's not like really open yet, or maybe the Hollywood one is smaller. I don't know, but I hope the one that opens in Orlando is huge. It has all of the things.
You know, I'm not the biggest roller coaster guy, but I think I'll swallow my fear for this.
Oh man, you're afraid of roller coasters?
A little bit.
So none of these, so Universal doesn't really, well, Disney too, but all of these roller coasters take place like inside. You're not going to do like some insane freaking drop from 300 feet in the air. It's all like on a track inside of a building. Lots of like screens, and you're wearing these goggles or like these glasses, whatever, so things look like they like jump out at you, stuff like that. It's not like giant terrifying roller coasters.
Gotcha.
It's all like very small indoor stuff. Not small, I don't want to say small, but you know, it's contained. It's not outside. It's not open to the elements. I'm very excited. I cannot wait. I have to wait 2 more years, but we'll see. Maybe it'll be sooner. Although I was just there, and I cannot imagine where it's going to be. I don't know if they just kept it really, you know, close-lip and like have... I don't know. I was just there. They certainly have, 1, the land plotted out, or 2, like, they're starting moving things in. I don't know. I don't know where it would be.
So you saw a sign that was like, this is going to be Super Nintendo World?
I saw nothing.
Oh.
I saw not a thing. I don't know where it would be.
Crazy.
But I know. I'm so excited.
That was good coverage on that. We're going to move into the last bit here. We have other. So some other miscellaneous stuff Nintendo has had their foot in the door with. This was on the Before Mario blog, but Nintendo used to do, they tried their hand at baby strollers. And at first I was like, oh, they had like toy doll baby strollers. No, these were human being baby strollers. Yeah, just a random thing on the Before Mario blog. Hey, have you guys heard of the Nintendo stores in Japan and New York? They have games. They have merch. They have exclusive stuff. Yeah, so I don't have a lot of experience. I've never been to New York. I've certainly never been to Japan. But they have some cool stuff. I have friends that go a lot. And I remember last year I pre-ordered my Pokemon Legends Arceus from the Nintendo store in New York because I thought that I was going to get a just like an Arceus plush. I'm the kind of guy that like, what is the best pre-order I can get? Like, if I'm gonna spend 60, what's the best free thing that I can get? And so I got it from there, but I think it was like something weird where I wasn't gonna get my game for like a extra week or something, and I just really wanted to play the game. So, anyways,
no, not a week.
You know the feeling. Don't act like you're above it.
I'm not. I still have 2 copies of Xenoblade Chronicles 3 because I couldn't wait.
Yeah, they sell anything from plushies to actual video games, merch, whatever. There's also a freaking Pikachu themed record player you can now buy for like $400. There's all kinds of stuff.
Oh wow.
Pokemon Center was consumed and put into this, and Nintendo World was also consumed and put into this, I think. Or like they changed names or something, but you used to be able to get crazy exclusive stuff like Pokemon Box on the GameCube was only from here, which has turned into the most expensive game in the world because of that.
Sweet.
Unless you could get it online. I don't know all the details, but here's a fun one. Nintendo was the production company behind a live-action film called Owl's Castle in 1999. It is a freaking random ninja movie based on a book called Fukuro no Shiro, and I was like, wait a minute. Like, I had to freaking do a double take when I was reading this. I have no idea. This is not based on any Nintendo property, but somehow they were the production company. I have no idea.
Why?
And the last thing I have for the miscellaneous here is the Ultra Machine, another toy, I suppose, but it was a machine that flung wiffle balls at you with a toy bat you could use to hit the wiffle balls. So yeah, probably could have put that in the toy section, but the Ultra Machine.
Wow. Dude, we've covered
what
so
hasn't
much today.
Nintendo done? Yeah, really.
Yeah. They're like the hodgepodge of companies. So the last thing I have is licensed by Nintendo, not a Nintendo product, not sanctioned by Nintendo at all. But it's the symphonies, the various symphonies that they have of like the Kirby symphonies, the Legend of Zelda Symphony of the Goddesses, which I had the absolute pleasure of buying a $300 ticket and attending. But yeah, me and my grandma went down to Miami. We got to watch it. It was, if you ever have the experience to listen to live any Nintendo music, honestly, but Breath of the Wild music, it is absolutely stunning. They have a full orchestra up in the front, and then of course behind them they have a giant screen, and they kind of like play visuals from the games and whatever. So if it's like a Link to the Past, they'll have like gameplay of Link to the Past or whatever, and they just like seamlessly not translate, but what's that word?
I know, I can't think of it either.
Transition. That's it.
Yeah.
They seamlessly transition into like in and out of games, and they play like the dark, like Ganon's here music to also like the light, super light Breath of the Wild, like, oh, you know, some miracle just happened, whatever. It was absolutely incredible. It was such a cool experience. But again, they don't have any part of it, and they travel worldwide. It's not just the U.S. They go to Japan. I think they went to all across Europe, of course. Like I said, not put on by Nintendo, but the one in Japan, the creator, Eiji Aonuma, actually showed up with the composer, Koji Kondo, and they kind of did like interviews in front of the live audience. So Nintendo has a part in it, but they obviously don't put it on. But I thought that was so cool.
So
I'm not gonna lie.
No, you can go ahead.
I was gonna say, I'm not gonna lie, I totally thought that Eiji Aonuma was totally gonna pop out behind the curtains and surprise us in Miami. I was like, there's totally a chance, right? He did not.
Was this the type of event that people were wearing like suits and ties, or was it like graphic t-shirts, Nintendo t-shirts?
Oh, dude, there was such a wide spectrum. So me and my grandmother, the reason we had to pay $300 is because, one, I waited a long time to purchase the tickets, but we were also in like a box. So people next to me were wearing like really fancy like suits or like not business attire, but nice attire, and I was wearing a freaking Legend of Zelda t-shirt and jeans. But a lot of people were dressed in like cosplay or like just graphic t-shirts. It's not something you have to be like dressed nicely for. But
wow,
there was a whole spectrum. And they, of course, oh man, they sold, I have a poster hanging up in my bedroom, and it's kind of like a mashup of all the games. It's so beautiful. And then they sold shirts and like music scores and all sorts of fun, like CDs, all sorts of fun stuff there. I wish I would have bought more, but I didn't. It was so cool.
no, I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that Nintendo had to have licensed that out in some shape or form. That's freaking awesome.
Oh no,
I
they
would do that
definitely
in a
did.
heartbeat.
It was so good. I think they went on for like 5 or 6 years, but I don't think they're touring anymore. But I would definitely recommend live Nintendo music any way you can. It's so good.
I went to Classic Game Fest last year, and I remember seeing advertisements for it was like a Final Fantasy same type of deal. Symphony was traveling or something in Austin or Houston, but yeah, I would love to go to something like that.
I definitely recommend it. It's so cool. But yeah, that's all I got. Dude, we covered literally everything today.
Yeah, we were like, is it
Frickin'.
going to be a 2-hour episode? I don't know. Here we are.
Sure is. Well, one thing we know is that Nintendo just has literally covered everything. From rice to Roombas to taxis to, naked girls on cards. It's literally, they've done everything.
But not naked girls in hotels. That was just an urban legend.
Well, I don't know. I'm still, in the back of my mind, I'm still going to believe that was the thing. But yeah.
Yeah, that was fun. You taught me a lot, and I hope I taught you a lot. That was good stuff.
Yeah, definitely. I've literally never heard of, like, anything that you said. Which is
Right.
incredible. Because I thought I knew Nintendo very well. Apparently not.
Yeah, I gotta give one more shout out to Eric's blog. Go check out the Before Mario blog. He's on Twitter too, posting up random crap.
Yeah, go get that book.
So yeah, next month we'll be talking about concepts that we love in video games for the Valentine's Day spirit.
Yeah, things we love.
You sound like the guy. You sound like the book at It Takes Two. He's always like, you like literally the way you just said that was like spot on.
Really?
Yeah. Anything else we need to mention here, Hannah?
No, I think that's it. I think we literally covered everything under the sun.
So that's gonna be our February episode. Our March episode will be talking all about Bayonetta. But yeah, drop a comment. Say something in the comments, guys. Join the Discord. Come talk to us. And thank you for listening. Hannah, where can the people find you?
Game Girl Advance SP on Instagram.
I am Bird Dog Gaming on everything. Thank you guys. And we will see you in February for another great episode.
See ya.